Hello, we are back with the fourth episode of the Full Court Trap. This is Jake, Splash, and today we have a very special guest, my good friend Jacob. How you doing?
What up? Excited to be here. Let's get into
Yeah,
it.
it's been a
Yeah,
crazy
welcome
week
aboard.
of basketball.
Dude,
Um,
wild day. I saw the Simmons Harden trade come in on Twitter, and I was like getting ready to go to class. I picked up all my stuff and I left. I was
yeah,
like, I'm not going to be able to pay attention to marketing right now. There's no chance. My apologies to
I
my
think a
marketing
lot of
211
people.
professor. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
Uh,
had a similar shocked reaction. Considering the Nets had just said a couple days ago, Harden is here to stay, not trading him. And personally, I think it was a good trade for both sides, but it was really interesting the way it went down, especially with the way Harden left last year. Very, very surprising. Like as of like 3 days ago, nobody would have expected this. So
Yeah,
want to hear
and
your guys'
like
thoughts on it, but I think it was a great trade for both sides. But I was pretty shocked, even though there was rumors about it. I was still pretty shocked.
Yeah, I think the Nets actually probably like I know everyone's saying, oh, well, I mean Harden's the superstar player going back, and you don't know what you're getting with Ben Simmons. He hasn't played in a long time. But I actually really like this deal for the Nets. I like them getting Seth Curry as a Joe Harris replacement. And I like the version of Ben Simmons that I think we're going to get in Brooklyn because I think the pairing of him and Kevin Durant as opposed to him and Embiid is a better pairing for him. He can kind of, KD's going to space the floor a little bit better than Embiid was for him. The lane isn't going to be clogged. So you can really get like Ben Simmons doing what Ben Simmons likes to do as opposed to us yelling at him for 3 years that he needs to learn how to shoot.
Facts. I think this is as close to a win-win trade as I can imagine. I was on earlier with Zach, like right when the news dropped, and it's hard to find a star-for-star trade. The last true star-for-star trade that I found was Gary Payton for Ray Allen, Sonics Bucks, which is like good, but this is legitimately like two guys that are top 15, top 20 players in their prime with Harden and Simmons. I know Simmons hasn't played at all this season. I know he has the flaws that are exemplified in the playoffs, but I compared him to Lamar Jackson earlier, that he does so much right for your team that, yeah, of course he has his flaws, but the flaws don't overweigh what he does team night in and night out. And he's an unbelievable defender. He is an unbelievable playmaker. He's like A tier, S tier defender, S tier passer, like facilitator. I know he can't shoot. I don't care. He's playing with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris and company. They can all shoot. Seth Curry coming over in the trade as well. Like there's so much talent on this Nets team. And then Harden goes to a much better situation for him, at least, I would imagine. So that's an incredible. And his Cantor got
Yeah,
waived.
yeah.
Oh, really?
And
And his
then
freedom
he
gone
made
already?
a trade that seems somewhat, or a tweet that seems somewhat threatening. After that, we can talk about that in a second. But I think for Simmons also, you gotta remember the Nets' two biggest like needs because they have Kyrie, they have Durant. You know who the ball is going to in the last 20 seconds of the game. It's
Right.
Kyrie or Durant. What they need is guys who can play make for them to make it easier for them to score, even though they're gonna score anyway. Makes it easier for them, and also defensively that team's a mess, and they really need perimeter defense. So I think Simmons was perfect for them. I think what's being overlooked is like I was thinking because Seth Curry was involved in the rumors. I was thinking maybe they'll get Seth Curry, maybe they'll get a first round pick. Them getting Seth
And
Curry,
Thibault. I thought Matisse Thibault might have been thrown in that deal
yeah,
late. I know that there were a lot of rumors about like, well, the Nets are holding out for Matisse Thibault. But before you get into that, like if you think of like a fully healthy and like loaded Nets roster right now, like in the last couple of minutes, you think that they just put Ben Simmons on the block, or do you think that they actually like use him as a point guard and try and get Kyrie a little bit more off the ball? But because like Kyrie's such an amazing ball handler and finisher, how do you think that they're gonna like try and utilize Ben Simmons?
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like I don't know if they're gonna make him a ball. Like I mean, obviously he's got to be the ball handler, when Kyrie's off the floor. But it's gonna be really interesting to see what him to do when Kyrie's on the floor because Simmons can play with his back to the basket. Like he can post up a little bit. He can, pass out of those type of situations. So he could still impact the game very well from those type of situations. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how they use him. And I think when it's just him and Durant out there, like in terms of like the big three, I think that's when he'll really shine because he'll be getting KD similar looks to like the ones that he got in like Golden State at times, which is terrifying. Um,
Yeah,
I was saying earlier, as a basketball fan, I love this trade. As a Cavs fan, I hate this trade because this is we're looking so good, and I think we can still compete with anyone, but it's a little bit more scary now in the East.
Shout out to Drew Gordon. Jeremy Lin is the
Jeremy Lin.
greatest basketball player of all time. Today is the 10-year anniversary of
Yes.
Jeremy Lin scoring 38 at the Garden against Kobe.
I
Absolutely
saw that
electric.
earlier. Most fun.
That was
most-
unbelievable. The
most
most fun 2 weeks of sports maybe of my lifetime.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Jets and Knicks fan. Julius Randle is some JV stinky turkey pastrami tech. It's pretty accurate.
But
I'm a huge Jets and Knicks fan. There was nothing better than Jeremy Lin torching the Dallas Mavericks and torching Kobe Bryant and hitting a buzzer beater against the Raptors. It was just so awesome. So happy 10-year anniversary to Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, and I was talking about that earlier too. Like as a Cavs fan, obviously, like, you know, I've had more fun times in the regular season for my Cavs, but outside of that, there's been no more fun time in the regular season than when Jeremy Lin was doing that. And just like going to like Buffalo Wild Wings during those weeks and just with all the Knicks fans there going nuts, it was fun times. So happy 10-year anniversary of Linsanity.
And speaking of the Knicks and the poverty franchises, I think we have to talk about the Sacramento Kings.
Yes,
we have to talk about the Sacramento Kings. The Kings.
I want to do some housekeeping real quick. We were talking like before the show, like listeners, like 3 minutes before the show, we're just talking about what we're going to talk about essentially. And we went on a full scale. The three of us just went on a full scale rant about the Sacramento Kings. And we had to cut it off. It's like, this is perfect for the show. Here we are. It is the Sacramento Kings part of the episode.
Yes.
The Kings really make me feel better about the teams I root for. They are so unbelievably incompetent. And as a basketball fan and as a sports fan, it genuinely hurts my soul to watch what the Sacramento Kings do. They have 3 point guards that they can essentially build around in a league where Damian Lillard and McCollum just proved that if you have 2 really awesome guards and you use them correctly, you're basically guaranteed 45 wins a season. And the Kings looked at their roster and said, you know what? We're going to build around the guy that we already paid, De'Aaron Fox, and the one that can't shoot instead of Tyrese Halliburton. And then instead of leaking it to Woj and seeing what you could get for Halliburton, maybe you end up with Porzingis. Maybe you get thrown into a 3-way deal that, you know, nets you somebody really awesome. You're just like, screw it. We're going to go get Sabonis. And he's going to be a pick and roll duo with De'Aaron Fox in a league that is progressively getting to more and more shooting. And the Kings took their 1 point guard that could really shoot it and sent him away for absolutely no reason. And they sent him to a team in the East. And I hate the Indiana Pacers. And I can't believe how badly they fleeced the Kings. It's an absolute joke. And every Kings fan today that is sitting there looking at the fact that they drafted Marvin Bagley ahead of Luka Doncic and then sent Marvin Bagley to the Pistons today, I don't know. I've given up on the Kings. I don't know. It is a joke. They are a joke.
Yeah,
James Dolan looks like a basketball genius compared to the people that are running the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, no, I feel like the day before Halliburton got traded, I said he was one of my 5 favorite players in basketball to watch. He's exciting. He can pass the ball. He can score basically at will for a guy who's 21 years old. Kind of feels like the way Darius Garland was last year before really breaking out this year. And he's destined for stardom, Halliburton. The Pacers should just build their franchise around him now. And they also got Buddy Hield, who you can use as a trade piece down the line too. And the funny thing was, I'm on Twitter and I said, like, this is a terrible trade for the Kings, whatever. And these people are defending it with like these Sabonis advanced stats or whatever. And yesterday the Kings beat the Timberwolves with Sabonis. So they're like, see, Sabonis is great. I'm like, I never said Sabonis isn't a good basketball player, but you have the guy who could be your point guard the next 10 years. And you gave him up for a worse version of Jokic. Now, Jokic is great, but a worse version of Jokic is not winning you a championship. And yeah, I mean, I think De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis will be fun to watch, but is it winning you anything? No, it'll keep you in mediocrity for years, which is, I guess, better than what they've been the last 17 years, but still not very good. So yeah.
Yeah, like what I completely agree. What is Domantas Sabonis winning for the Kings tomorrow? Other than, okay, they might go on a run in the second half of the season. Who gives a shit? They suck. They're not winning anything. They're awful.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, they should have traded De'Aaron Fox. is number one. They should have traded
Yeah,
De'Aaron Fox
I
this
agree.
weekend
Especially because Fox's value keeps going down
built
this year.
around Halliburton. Now they can watch the Indiana Pacers build around Halliburton and Miles Turner as an unbelievable pick and pop duo.
Yes.
Because that's what they're going to do, because they didn't trade Miles Turner today after weeks of speculation that they might. I heard a couple Knicks rumors. The Hornets were definitely a team that Miles Turner could have been dealt to for something. So they got Halliburton. They probably couldn't believe that they could get Halliburton to pair with Miles Turner for the next 5 years. It's an unbelievable trade for the Pacers, and it is a joke for the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, and the Pacers also have good trade pieces now. Like Brogdon has a lot of value if you actually give him time to get his value on the trade market. I think they could get a good haul for him in the offseason. So I think he's still got a year left on his contract. And Buddy Hield, who I believe still has a year left on his contract as well, you can get something for. So the Pacers not only made this trade, not only are going to have a great draft pick this year and have still have Miles Turner, they have guys who they can trade for future pieces. So this team's rebuilds, like they jump-started a rebuild with this trade after looking like they're going to be stuck in mediocrity for years with the pieces they had. And it's looking off to a great start. I mean, you get a 21-year-old who's probably destined to be an all-star.
And you didn't even mention Duarte.
Yeah, Duarte.
And they have Duarte, who's incredibly promising.
Yeah, him and Halliburton's going to be so much fun in the backcourt.
Yeah, that's going to be a young, fun team in Indiana, like quickly.
Yeah.
So where do you guys, getting back to Harden-Simmons, where do you guys see like who you got? If round 2 of the Eastern Conference has the Nets, Sixers, Heat, and Bucks, like who you got? Who you guys think is getting through that?
Cavs, nah. But
I was gonna say the same thing.
But I mean, if that happens, which I do think you're not giving enough credit to the Cavs, but if it's those 4, you said Nets, Sixers, Bulls, and Bucks.
No, I said Nets, Sixers, Heat, and Bucks.
Okay. I mean, I still think you gotta go with the Bucks. That team at its full health, and I think
and
the
Serge
Cavs,
Ibaka.
Yeah, they added Ibaka, which was a good deal because Lopez is probably out for the year. I think that team was like 14-3 going into the Cavs game. We beat them, so they're like 14-4 now with those 3 playing. So they're gonna be a tough out for anyone because they play defense. They can score with anyone. They can defend anyone. That team is always gonna be tough to beat. If it's a Nets Sixers series, that would be hilarious, and I'd love to see it happen. I don't know who would win, but that would be so funny. I mean, the boos that Ben Simmons would get every time he touches the ball in Philadelphia would be unreal. And same thing with Harden in Brooklyn now, I think, too. Yeah, I think it would be hilarious to see that happen.
For anybody that thinks, by the way, that the Nets are taking over New York, Ben Simmons just went to a media market that everyone's saying won't criticize him, and yet he's in the state of New York. Nobody cares about the Nets locally. The Nets are a great national story. Ben Simmons is going to get nothing from WFAN. He's going to get nothing from the New York Times. I guarantee tomorrow the back page is about how the Knicks didn't make any trades today.
Yeah, and
I guarantee it.
It's like in Los Angeles. I lived out there for a year. I've lived in Connecticut for most of my life. I can confirm 90% of people are Knicks fans. I have met more Nets fans than I met Clippers fans in LA, but that's talking little versus a little bit less than a little. It's not as bad as the Clippers are in LA, where you can literally buy their tickets for like $3. Literally nobody cares. I was out there when the Lakers, were winning 25 games a year, and the Clippers were, supposed to be championship contenders, but Doc Rivers was their coach, so that didn't happen. But they nobody cared about the Clippers. It was all about the Lakers. Same thing with the Knicks. Like, people are going to be talking about the Knicks. And but, the Nets are the better team right now.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Jack Sklar? Scar?
Yeah, Sklar.
So, I don't know how much you know about uSTADIUM, but we are a primary Jets-focused thing, even though neither Jake or I are Jets fans. The rest of the network, a lot of them are Jets fans. So just being a Jets fan, you already have some big fans.
Yeah, no, we can talk Jets. We can definitely talk Jets because look, season's over, and with the Super Bowl, I'm sure we'll get into that. I got the Rams. Sorry, all my guys that, are big Bengals fans here. 20 minutes from Cincinnati, so I know they're all going to be mad at me. But I got the Rams. King should draft Slugma. I got the Rams. But look, the Jets have some decisions to make. They have 2 top 10 picks. They have 4 picks in the top 40 because they have the extra second rounder from Carolina for the Sam Darnold trade, which looks amazing. And Jake will know this because we went to high school together. I was the biggest Sam Darnold fan you will ever meet coming out of college. I wanted him from day one. When the Jets drafted him, it was one of the happiest days of my life. God, is he awful. So they ship him to Carolina. They get a top 35 pick. If they can come out of the first round with a lineman like Evan Neal or a safety like Kyle Hamilton, and then you have your choice of receivers, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State, Drake London from USC. In the second round, you can get Trey McBride, the tight end from Colorado State that was absolutely amazing at the Senior Bowl that everyone keeps talking about. And maybe this linebacker from Georgia who had a really good playoff, Nakobe Dean, is going to be there in the second round for them. That would be awesome. In free agency, it looks like they're going to lose Foley Fatukasi and Braxton Berrios. I love Braxton Berrios. I'm not paying Braxton Berrios $10 million a year. It's just not happening. So they're going to have Elijah Moore. They're going to have Corey Davis coming back on, I don't want to say a bad contract because Kenny Golladay proves the bad contract in the NFL. By the way, I think Tyrese Halliburton being traded for Sabonis is essentially like trading Elijah Moore for the contract of Kenny Golladay. That's how bad it is. But
it's bad.
You got Corey Davis coming back. You're going to draft a receiver in the top 10. And who knows what this Calvin Ridley situation is going to end up in Atlanta. If Dalton Schultz hits the market, the tight end from Dallas, I think there are some moves there that can be made. I don't see this team being as bad as they were this year. I really like the way that Zach Wilson played at the end of the season. Bryce Hall, one of the more underrated corners in the league. The Michael Carter II on defense. Like, they have some young pieces. I'm not expecting anything great. How can I as a Jet fan? You're set up for disappointment. I was at the butt fumble game screaming that Mark Sanchez was down. So the disappointment comes with the territory. But hopefully Joe Douglas and Coach Sala will figure it out.
Yeah, I got to say, as a Patriots fan right now, I'd be more excited about the Jets' future than ours because it feels like you guys are actually doing a rebuild where it feels like we've got a bunch of like decent players, but nothing that's going to put you over the top. So, I think the Jets are doing a great job with the rebuild personally. I would say I'm excited to see where it goes, but I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm obligated not to say that. But I think the Jets have a lot of very good pieces in place, and it showed at the end of the regular season. They were playing a lot better football than they were earlier in the year. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. But I think for the first time in a long time, the Jets actually have good coaching, management that knows what they're doing. So, I think you guys are in good shape right now.
And by the way, as a Patriot fan, like, you guys going to get the band back together with Joe Judge, Adam Gase, and Belichick? Like, what is this? Adam Gase is coaching football to where it's going. Like, who? Come on. I couldn't think of a better person to develop Mac Jones. He does such a good job with second-year quarterbacks. Tannehill, Darnold, he's amazing. I personally recommend for the Patriots that Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator tomorrow.
I really want Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien was a good coach. He's a worst GM of all time, Bill O'Brien, but he's a good football coach. So as an offensive coordinator, I'd be completely good with us getting Bill O'Brien. Do not want Adam Gase. Just never let Bill O'Brien make a personnel decision.
Who's a worse GM, Bill O'Brien or LeBron James? And the fact that and I can't believe that LeBron didn't give us the Russell Westbrook for John Wall trade today. We all needed it. America needed the John Wall for Russell Westbrook trade, and we didn't get it. And it's tragic.
Yeah.
It's one of the great tragedies in sports. It would have been hilarious.
Yeah. That would have been funny.
Would have been amazing.
So we do have some breaking news. We are live during the NFL awards, which is a little bit ironic, but we have the new Hall of Fame class this year. Then I'll go through some awards. Tony Baselli, Jags offensive lineman.
Okay.
Cliff Branch, longtime Raiders receiver. Leroy
He wasn't
Butler,
in the Hall of
Packers
Fame?
safety. No.
Clifford Branch wasn't in the
now.
Hall of Fame?
Nope.
Wow. Good. Congrats
Sam
to
Mills,
Clifford Branch.
Panthers Saints linebacker Richard Seymour. Jake knows exactly who Richard Seymour is. And Bryant Young. Those are the player nominees, the players now in the Hall of Fame. Also, Dick
49ers,
Vermeil.
Bryant Young?
Yes, 49ers, Bryant Young, Dick Vermeil, and Art McNally, who I believe is a referee. So congratulations to those guys. Some notables that aren't in: Devin Hester, DeMarcus Ware, Andre Johnson, all were in their first year of eligibility. No Torrey Holt. But Leroy Butler, Bryant Young, Tony Baselli, Cliff Branch, Sam Mills, Richard Seymour. Congratulations.
Oh, Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame.
He'll probably get in.
That's my first reaction is that Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame. If you are the best ever at what you did, you should be in the Hall of Fame. My first.
That makes us special. Oh, but I'm special.
You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Only for the military community.
Oh shoot, that's mine. My bad. I was on ESPN.
Wow.
Wow. Oh boy.
No,
All
I
right,
was
you're
on
gonna
ESPN.
get us demonetized real quick.
Wow. Anyway,
getting.
No, good job, Jake. Anyway, getting back to Devin Hester, JV. The guy, my first sports memory that I can like genuinely remember is Devin Hester's opening kickoff return for a touchdown against the Colts. He was so unbelievable. There has not been a guy since him that, as like you were genuinely thinking the week going into playing against them, like, oh man, special teams is going to be a real issue. Like, we have to make sure that we kick the ball away from this guy. He was so unbelievably special, and I know it didn't last like that long. No return man does. Dante Hall didn't last that long. Josh Cribbs didn't last that long. But Devin Hester was so unbelievable, and he was even good in Atlanta. And I think there was a playoff game that the Seahawks basically said screw it and signed him for one playoff game, if I remember correctly. And he had like 2 returns up past midfield because it's Devin Hester. Like, of course he did. He was so awesome. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Congrats, though, to Dick Vermeil and Clifford Branch. Long overdue. Dick Vermeil, the coach of the 99 Rams team, which a lot of people are comparing this year's Bengals to. Just a team that came out of absolute nowhere. Nobody in their right mind would have picked to get to the Super Bowl. And they have this dominant offense. For the Rams, it was Kurt Warner to Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. And for this Bengals team, it's Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So very, very cool. Belated congrats to the Hall of Fame for them because they deserve to get in a long time ago.
Yeah, so Hester, 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, made both the 2010s and 2000s Hall of Fame teams, which is just kind of ridiculous to think about. 14 career punt return touchdowns, 5 career kick return touchdowns. He had that one game in Atlanta that I will always cherish. The Thursday night against the Bucks, they just absolutely bulldozed them, and that was when Hester broke the non-offensive touchdown record over Dion in Atlanta. Just beautiful. He has 20 career non-offensive touchdowns. That's an NFL record. You know, these top 10 in kick return touchdowns, 1st in punt return touchdowns, 3rd in punt return yardage, 5th in overall punt returns. And he's a guy that it's a laundry list of all pro teams. Like, if he wasn't first team, he was second team, right? First in all sorts of, like in 2006, he was an all pro kick returner and an all pro punt returner. It's just the kinds of things that Devin Hester did on the football field. I agree that if you're the best at your position, you should be in the Hall of Fame, no matter what position you play. And I think Hester is clearly the best return man ever. So I think he's a snub. Hope he gets in 1 year.
Is he the only special teams guy? He's got to be the only special teams guy that is all decade team for 2 decades. I can't think of
I can fact check that. Maybe Vinatieri.
Maybe like Matthew Slater. Maybe Ray Guy.
Vinatieri was just 2000s. Tucker might get it for the 2020s. He's been awesome both of these years. So that's I can look. So Tucker's 2010s. So the current specialists in the Hall of Fame are Stunnerud, the Chiefs kicker, and Morton Anderson. So I will look for them.
And Ray Guy.
Ray Guy.
Ray Guy.
Yeah. Okay. Stunnerud did not have an all-decade team. It would make sense if Ray Guy did. Maybe Shane Leckler does, because he was great for a long time too.
Yeah, Shane Leckler.
Okay, Ray Guy was just the 70s. I'm surprised he's only a 3-time All-Pro. Leckler made 6 All-Pros. Yeah. Okay. Leckler was all 2010s, all 2000s.
Okay,
that's my goat.
So Leckler
right
and Devin Hester. That's unbelievable to be the best like at your position for a decade, 2 decades in the NFL is remarkable. I mean, obviously Brady's done it, but it just doesn't happen. Like, it's absolutely incredible. He should be in next year.
And so did Morton Anderson, 80s and 90s.
Okay. Well, Morton Anderson kicked forever. Like, I think he was. Yes. I think he was still kicking in the Steve Gleason Saints game. Like, that guy.
Yes, he was
in the league forever. So,
Yeah, he was playing in 1982 as a 22-year-old. Last season was it was 2007. That is, he made 565 field goals. That is, but he only hit 79.7% of them. So I don't know.
Jets kickers seem to make like 13% of them, so I would take it.
Hey, it happens. Hey, and then I'm here as a Ravens fan, and Tucker makes 90%.
Yeah, the only one
I'll take it.
The only one he missed was that one against the Saints, the extra point.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that ever again. Bottom 5. It's like a Flacco of all people, perfect throw to John Brown. It's like, we're going to tie it. I hate Saints fans. They are so obnoxious, and we always beat them. It's like, I'm so happy we're going to tie the game, and Tucker missed and then I threw my hat into the entertainment center. That was a sad day.
So, as a Ravens fan, is like Billy Cundiff's kick just like the worst moment of your life?
Yeah, it's up there. I have a few sports moments that are just like absolute tragedies, like the end of game 1 of the 2018 finals.
Yes,
that's up there. Cundiff, of a Boise State fan, so all of their missed kicks, just like
I still can see. I can still see Kellen Moore hitting that pass with like 3 seconds left against the bottom. That was
the man
just
one. Shanks it from like 30 yards.
Yeah, no, that was a tough one.
And
That's a tough memory.
Young that like has the wherewithal to roll over and spam timeout, and it's like, we're gonna win, and he missed the kick. How do you miss the kick? Oh my goodness! And I hated playing Kaepernick. Kaepernick is unreal. Like, of course, against the Ravens, he was very good in that game. Jake and I have talked at length for how good Kaepernick was, but in college, Boise State just straight up could not stop calling Kaepernick.
As someone who, my dad and brother went to Boston College, so I've always rooted for Boston College. They played. It must have been like, it was the last year of Kaepernick was in college. It must have been like 2010, 2011. Mm-hmm. They played BC and Kaepernick just absolutely destroyed BC. Like, BC's a bunch of slow guys, like, all over the field. Mm-hmm. And he just, like, ran all over them, threw, like, passes over their heads and stuff. It was like, oh, my God. That game must have been, like, a 15, 20-point game. And Nevada isn't exactly considered a top football school. So it's like, damn.
I know we didn't start out talking about college football, but how quickly do you guys think Lincoln Riley is going to get USC to be, like, a top 10 program? Because they're getting really good really fast, and I think getting Caleb Williams was a huge steal for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Lincoln Riley in a weak Pac-12. I just think he's gonna run that conference for.
I think they win the Pac-12 South this year. I don't even think that's a hot take. I can look up odds or something, but
the only thing for me is, like, ever since I started watching college football, USC's disappointed every year. I know that they probably shouldn't be able to mess this up. But a part of me just feels like USC is going to find a way to mess it up just because they always do. But we'll see.
Okay, so I have 2021 odds. That doesn't help at all. But, like, I would have to imagine they're the favorites because, like, Utah's losing a lot of talent. And I don't know what the situation is with Kyle Whittingham. I heard there was a rumor that he might retire, but I don't know if that's come to fruition. Arizona sucks. Arizona State's, like, 8-4 every single season. Cal is in the north. Like, UCLA is like, okay, whatever. But, like, USC, I think it can be in a Texas A&M situation that if you let Lincoln get a recruiting class or two in, like 2024, 2025, they're going to be really, really good and winning 10, 11 games every year. The only reason A&M didn't win 11 games is because they play Alabama, LSU, Auburn, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's an insane, like, what Jimbo's done in College Station is insane. How if he just figures out quarterback, they can win the national championship. That's like every school in the country outside of Georgia right now is, if you can figure out quarterback, you have a chance to win the Natty. Mm-hmm. Unless you're Alabama or Georgia, then you're like elevated at such a level that you don't really need quarterback. It helps to have a Bryce Young, but hey, Stetson Bennett can win a title.
Yeah.
So speaking of Georgia quarterbacks, if Matt Stafford wins this weekend,
I think it
Is
really
he
elevates him all
is he a
time.
no question Hall of Famer?
Yes, I think
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Jeremy Lin prime over LeBron. I like it.
I would take it. Jeremy Lin was
Yeah,
dicing up
you're not
Kobe.
wrong.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy Lin peak for peak. Who's messing with that? Like 38 and Kobe.
Yeah,
size
I
that
know,
day.
right? It's like, or
He's-
oh man, or
he's-
like Brandon
so me
Jennings
and my-
peak.
Yeah, me and my friends were trying to figure out like who was the last like legitimately good real point guard that the Knicks had. So with all due apologies to Kemba Walker because he's washed.
My guy.
So
Yeah.
you have so you can count Jeremy Lin's 2 weeks, but if we're talking like legitimately, do you think you have to go back to Raymond Felton or
Yeah.
Stephon
Lord.
Marbury for a legitimate Knicks point guard? Because I mean,
Well-
if you think about it, it's been Tony Douglas, it's been Baron Davis, Iman Shumpert. There was a lot of hope in Ron Baker, Emmanuel
I remember
Mudiay.
Ron.
Like the list
okay.
of
I
Knicks
love me
point
some
guards
Mudiay.
is just atrocious.
Did Archie
they
Goodwin
move-
ever play with the Knicks?
They move him
Who?
between point.
Archie Goodwin.
Possibly. I'd have
They
to look it up.
move quickly between point and shooting guard a lot, but if Quickly's listed as a point guard, I think he's going to be really good in the future. Obviously,
Quickly's not a point guard. Quickly,
he's like a
without
Colin
Derek,
Sexton type of thing. Right now he's listed as a point guard. I think last year he was anyway, but he's a shooting guard. Like he plays like a shooting guard.
he has really struggled
Jacob.
with the ball in his hands ever since Derrick Rose went out for a sustained period of time.
Yeah,
Emmanuel Quickly has really, really struggled. He's an off-ball guard that
Mhm.
has the ability to shoot threes. And speaking of shooting threes, Taj Gibson just hit a 25-footer. So
Oh wow.
that's unbelievable. Old
Speaking
Taj
of-
for free. He's going off. Knicks up by
Speaking of-
6 against the Warriors right now.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Speaking
boy.
of basketball tonight, what I was trying to look up before when a commercial happened to play on ESPN was that the Nets lost their 10th straight game to the Wizards, or lost to the Wizards for a 10th straight loss tonight. So
Yep.
obviously
Mhm.
they've got some guys coming in, but I do feel like at some point that just messes with a team's morale. Just keep on losing. I mean, obviously they've had their guys out, but it's not very often you see a team lose 10 straight games in the regular season and then go far. Now, obviously, Nets are going to test that theory, but I do think there's a good chance, regardless of this trade, because it sounds like Simmons is going to be out for a few weeks to get back in game shape and stuff. I do think there's still a decent chance that the Nets end up in the play-in game, which will be very interesting to see where they go from there, because then you end up playing a top 2 or 3 or 2 seed in the first round. So.
Well, if they end up in the playing game and they end up like the 7 or 8 seed and they have to play the Bucks in the first round, is that the greatest first round series of all time? It has to be.
I
right?
think it's up there with
Unless
Suns
it's-
Lakers from last year.
Yeah,
or
Suns, like-
Spurs
In theory.
Clippers or
Spurs
Spurs
Clippers
Suns
is-
the Nash year that was
Oh, that's
There was
Spurs
that one
Suns.
year.
I-
I guess that was a second round series with Spurs and Mavs.
Are you
That's
talking
what I was
about the
thinking of.
Spurs Suns, the 2009 series?
I think it might have been 08 or 09 where Tim Duncan hits the 3 at the end of game 1. That was a great
Mhm.
first round series. And then
there's a
Clippers
couple-
Spurs with Chris Paul hitting the game winning bank over
There's
Duncan.
Oh man.
a couple I can
But-
think of off top is the one Derrick Rose's rookie year when they played the Celtics. I believe Game 7 went to overtime, and the Celtics ended
That
up
series
winning
had like
1-8.
17 overtimes.
Yeah, that series is one of the
Ben
best
Gordon went
series
nuts.
ever. Yeah, that's
It's amazing that Cavs team won the championship because if I'm not mistaken, that Celtics team won the championship because if I'm not mistaken, they like every single series for them until the finals went to Game 7. I think they played 25 playoff games that year.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like that is really amazing. In an era where 5-6 years ago we saw the Warriors almost go 16-0 in the postseason. It is amazing that a team won the championship playing 25 postseason games.
I think it's 26. They went 7 against the Hawks, 7 against the Cavs, 6 against Detroit, 6 against the Lakers.
The Bulls series was the year after they won the championship.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
right?
Bulls series
But
was
the
09.
The championships year, they also had the Game 7s. The next year is when KG was injured, and who'd they lose to in the second? Or no, they lost in the conference finals to Orlando.
Orlando.
Yeah.
Because LeBron hit the buzzer beater at the end of game 2.
Cavs lost to Orlando round 2. Mavs versus Spurs. Shout out James. Shout out James. I remember we were on a PlayStation during just like talking, or Xbox talking during Game 3, and Vince Carter catches in the corner like he up fakes, just fades out of bounds, hits that buzzer beater to win, and then ends up going Game 7. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, the Mavericks got destroyed in Game 7, but those first 6 games were unbelievable. Also, another one is that the Lakers Suns series in 05 when Kobe basically had nothing else around him that year.
Yeah,
and,
is that the one where they blew the 3-1 lead where
and
Kobe hits the buzzer beater?
Yeah, Kobe hit
in
the
that
buzzer
series?
beater.
It has the whole the ripping of his jersey.
Yeah.
The iconic, and then the people don't talk about Game 7 collapse that he just decided not to take any more jumpers.
Yeah, he quit in the second half.
What was it, like 2 shots in the second half in that Game 7? I think it's the stat.
I want to say it was 3, but either way, it's awful. Like you can't just you just can't do that.
He was just so pissed off at everyone calling him a ball hog that he was just like, all right, I'm just not going to shoot the entire second half. I'm just going to only pass. And then essentially like 18 months later, the Grizzlies gift them Pau Gasol for Kwame Brown, and they gift America one of the great Stephen A. Smith rants of all time.
That was the greatest.
Did they give up too much? They give up Kwame Brown. That guy's a bona fide scrub. He can't play. Absolutely.
No disrespect.
No disrespect, bro, whatsoever. But I'm sorry to tell the man the truth. Man. The man cannot play the game of basketball. Just one of the great sports rants ever.
That was hilarious. The funniest thing, and I talked to Splash about this a lot, but the funniest Stephen A. moment to me was that year when Roy Hibbert fell apart right before the playoffs when the Pacers lost in 6. He's talking to Roy Hibbert like when Roy Hibbert's an all-star and stuff. He's like, and Roy Hibbert was like trying to defend Kwame Brown or something. He's like, Stephen A. Smith's like, Kwame Brown, he sucks. No disrespect to the brother, but he's terrible. And then during the playoffs, he goes, I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but Roy Hibbert is playing worse than Kwame Brown.
Stephen A. Smith is an absolute gem. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but when he came back from COVID, he was on ESPN and he was talking about like how the doctors were telling him like if he wasn't vaccinated, he was screwed. With COVID. I was sitting there watching that just like shook. If COVID had taken Stephen A. Smith, that's just like way too far.
That would have been way too far, yeah.
That's way too far. That would not have been okay.
You got to stop it there.
That would have been very sad.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well,
did you guys know that Kwame actually averaged 11 and 7.5 one year with Washington?
That was really because I remember his last year before Washington, he was pretty good, and then he turned out that like decent offer from the Lakers to sign like a bigger contract with Washington. I didn't realize he had a decent season in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, he was
also Michael Jordan basically bullied the basketball out of him. His first couple of years in the league. Like, and we've all seen The Last Dance. Michael definitely was not the easiest teammate to be around, and you can believe or not believe whatever Scottie Pippen has to say about it. But certainly Kwame Brown did not adhere to Michael's, if you don't want to play that way, don't play that way mentality.
I got it confused. Yeah, his last year in Washington, he was good. Then he went to LA and he was a disaster. That was my bad. I got it mixed up.
Yeah, and then he's always subject to those like goofy expectations because he was the number 1 overall pick in a weaker draft class. So it's kind of like Anthony Bennett that like he sucks, but it's a different level of suckitude because he's the number 1 pick and he's like held up to this standard. If he was like the number 8 pick, who cares? Do you know who the second pick in that draft was?
No clue.
What year is it? 2001?
Yeah, 2001.
Oh man. I want to say Emeka Okafor, but I could be wrong.
That was the 04 draft. Tyson Chandler actually went 2, so it was a relevant player. Powell went 3, then Eddie Curry, Nick's legend went 4, Jason Richardson 5, Battier 6, Eddie Griffin 7.
I love
the greatest
at 8.
The greatest front court of all time, Eddie Curry and Jerome James. Just an unbelievable Knicks front court.
Ouch.
Like
Joe Johnson, ISO Joe at 10. Radmanovich at 12, Cavs legend Richard Jefferson at 13.
Yes.
Jason Collins 18, Zach Randolph 19, Brendan Haywood 20. This is a fun draft. Tony Parker 28, Gerald Wallace 25, Gilbert Arenas 31, Scalabrine. This is the greatest draft class ever. 35, Okoro 38. And then a bunch of no names in the second half of the second round. Oh, Jerron Collins. So both Collins bros went in the same draft. I didn't realize that.
Poor Jason Collins gets drafted to the Nets. It's like just the moment they're about to get to the NBA Finals and has to spend the NBA Finals guarding Shaq, just being embarrassed for an entire series. Poor Jason Collins.
Okay, today I learned that Jerron Collins went to Harvard Westlake.
So what do we think of this Porzingis trade to Washington?
Oof.
So
we haven't touched on it yet. Obviously,
I gotta get the Luka meme. I
want to talk about this. I want to talk about that, the Karis LeVert and the and the what's it called, Derek White trade. I thought was really interesting. But yeah, on the Kristaps Porzingis deal. So at first I was like, okay, Dinwiddie obviously doesn't look as good this year as he did before, but he's in a bad situation in Washington. He's a good playmaker. His shots aren't falling this year. But if he got in a better situation, he can put the ball in the hoop. But then I see, like, I'm figuring they're putting like a decent package around Dinwiddie to get Porzingis. And then I see that they put Bertans in, who's on an $18 million a year contract to average 5 points a game on 30% three-point shooting, which is just nuts. I don't know what the Mavericks were thinking. I think if Luka ends up leaving, this is going to be a moment we look back to. And that Luka 20 in the first quarter tonight is nuts too. But yeah, I think Mavericks definitely, I don't know the direction they're trying to go in, that's for sure.
I feel like from maybe not from day one, but there was certainly an era after the bubble. I think it kind of started where it didn't seem like Luka and Porzingis had the greatest relationship. Mm-hmm. There was always rumors coming out that they don't like each other. Porzingis never really fit. He never really had like a great stretch to speak of where it was like, hey, these 2 weeks, Kristaps Porzingis was like a really awesome second player. If you want to say like the first 2 games in the bubble against the Clippers until he gets, hurt and ejected, like that's probably his best moments as a Maverick, but it never really clicked for them. It's amazing that the Knicks actually won that trade because at the time we were all just killing them and they didn't even get KD and Kyrie, which Dolan basically admitted was the reason that they made the trade. Mm-hmm. But they were able to flip Dennis Smith Jr. into Derrick Rose and the 2 picks. So, like, and I just don't know where Porzingis' career goes from here. I mean, I guess Washington's thought is that they're going to try to entice Bradley Beal to come back and say, hey, look, we got you a pick and roll, pick and pop partner in Porzingis. But, like, I just don't, especially if that doesn't work, if Bradley Beal leaves, I just don't know where Porzingis goes from here. And it's kind of amazing that this guy that, a few years ago was this unicorn and this like gonna be one day guaranteed amazing player. It just never really hasn't really panned out for him in the way that we all thought it would.
I think it's I think what Washington's plan is, because I don't think he's on a contract year for, I'm pretty sure he has a couple years left. I think what their plan is Beal comes back. If he doesn't, we'll trade him. And I think they could probably get more than they traded for him. But the thing to me is, like, I was listening to a Wizards space on Twitter when they blew that 35-point lead to the Clippers a few weeks ago. And all these people are so done with Bradley Beal. And I've always felt like Beal's not a guy who's going to win you games. He's a guy who's going to put up stats. He doesn't really play much defense. He can't play make very well. He can score. He can put the ball in the hoop. But I've never, like, even during those runs, like that year when they destroyed the Raptors, I didn't feel like Beal was a big part of that. I felt like they had a decent team and John Wall was playing out of his mind. I've never been again, Bradley Beal's a good basketball player. I don't know if he's going to help you to win, especially if it's just him and Porzingis and then, a bunch of, Kyle Kuzma is pretty good now, but, a bunch of other, role players. I just don't see why they don't just go and rebuild at this point, because they have guys they could trade away to actually put together a really, really good rebuild, like almost like Thunder level rebuild. They traded like the Kuzmas, Kentavious Caldwell-Popes, Porzingis now. So, and if they traded Beal at the trade deadline, obviously he's out for the year now. But if they'd done it a few weeks ago, they could have gotten a good amount for him. So I don't know what the Wizards' plan is, but they definitely fleeced the Mavericks in this trade. So good for them with that.
Yeah, and on Dallas' side of things, you get Spencer Dinwiddie, but I actually really like Jaylen Brunson for them as the guard opposite Luka. So I don't know exactly how they're gonna work that lineup in that rotation with both of them, especially because Spencer Dinwiddie is a little bit of a ball dominant player, and Jaylen Brunson has no problem deferring to Luka, and I think Jaylen Brunson's been really good.
Yeah,
I
he's
really
awesome.
like him.
He's going to get a huge contract, which the point that a lot of people are making is that the Mavericks might be saying they're not going to be able to bring back Jaylen Brunson with this trade, and they're trying to find a cheaper replacement for him, which I don't know. I don't think Dinwiddie could do the stuff that Brunson does for them. So I don't really like it personally. Brunson, actually, I was talking about my top 5 favorite players in basketball earlier and how Halliburton, I put him on that list the night before he gets traded 12 hours later. And another player on that list was Jaylen Brunson. I think he's been really fun to watch this year. I think he's probably been the second best player on their team, honestly. Does everything you could ask out of a player at his position. I think if they let him go, it's a huge mistake.
So who's the team this summer that you think just completely
Knicks.
like overpaid? You think it's the Knicks?
I think
you think the Knicks are the team that overpays for Jaylen Brunson?
I think the Knicks.
I won't say overpay because I really like Jaylen Brunson, but that's going to offer a non-refusable deal.
Yeah, as a Cavs fan, this hurts to say, but I think it's either going to be Sexton or Brunson. The Knicks go out there. I think they're going to trade a first-round pick to get rid of Fournier, future first-rounder, or Fournier and what are the other bad contracts they have now?
Burks, Noel,
Kemba,
Randall. Literally, name your Nick that isn't a recent draft pick or RJ Barrett.
Yeah,
and it's a bad contract.
The Knicks I'm not sure if you
guys know about the Charlie Ward curse, but there has not been a Nick. There has not been a Nick draft pick. By the way, shout out to Knicks Film School for this stat because I heard it on their podcast first. There has not been a Knicks draft pick to play a game under a contract extension since Charlie Ward, who was drafted in 1994.
That's nuts.
That is.
There has not been a Knicks first-round pick. There has not been a Knicks first-round pick to play a game under the contract extension because they traded Porzingis since Charlie Ward in 1994.
What? This is like you guys remember that Shaq stat that he like had a teammate in like 40 straight finals?
Yeah.
Right. Like that is probably more baffling than that because like Shaq was like a great player and like I get it. How does that happen?
Because it's the Knicks.
What?
That's crazy.
And think about it. Wrap your mind around. Think about the best like the Knicks like that you can think of since essentially the post. I don't want to call it the post Ewing era, but sort of the Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell teams. It's Houston, Sprewell, Marcus Camby, Larry Johnson, and then you get into the Stephon Marbury, Penny Hardaway era. They have not drafted a guy that played a game under a contract extension.
That's crazy.
Because even when they drafted David Lee, who was a nice draft pick for them, they traded him
to Golden State, right?
Yeah, they traded. Obviously, they did the Melo deal where they got rid of a bunch of young players. Like it hasn't happened for whatever reason. It has not happened. RJ Barrett looks like the person that's going to break the curse.
Yes, RJ Barrett is. I was going to say through how disappointing the season has been for Knicks fans, you have found that you have that guy of the future.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett has looked like he's going to be that guy. So
yeah, they shipped off Amon Shumpert to the Cavs. They didn't give Tony Douglas an extension. I'm just wrapping my mind through like last 10, 15 years of Knicks draft picks. Obviously not Ntilikina or Kevin Knox. And then the guy after that is RJ. So hopefully RJ will break the curse, but it's been a long drought.
That's a catastrophe.
Yeah. And that's how you end up without a quality point guard since, Mark Jackson, Stephon Marbury or Raymond Felton.
Oh, that is just brutal. That is
that's crazy.
I can't even wrap my head around that. That's just I don't have words. I genuinely don't have words for that. Although, did you know that David Lee was a later first round pick attached to a Leandro Barbosa trade?
Is that right?
Really?
Yeah. June 26, 2003.
The Knicks actually did okay in that draft. If I remember correctly, it's Trevor Ariza, David Lee, and Nate Robinson. Or maybe it was Channing Frye, David Lee, and Nate Robinson. Like those are three solid players. Not one of them was on the Knicks for a contract extension.
Yeah, Nate Robinson in his Bulls years was so fun to watch. I remember there was a first round Bulls Nets series The year they
Iconic.
lost to the Heat, they actually beat the Heat in Game 1 with no Derrick Rose, but they ended up losing in 5 to the Heat. But that in Bulls Nets series, when we're talking about best first round series we've ever seen, that Bulls Nets series right there with any series for me. That series, it was Nate Robinson versus Joe Johnson just trading buckets and like overtime games. That was such a fun series to watch, and Bulls ended up upsetting them, which was surprising considering Rose had went out. Yeah, Nate Robinson was awesome. Yeah, he was one of my favorite players in basketball at that point.
I do have
Speaking
some
of your
breaking
favorite
news.
players. Oh, okay.
Aaron Rodgers is now a 4-time MVP, first player since 08-09 Peyton to go back-to-back.
Deserves it.
I would have given it to Cooper Kupp.
Mm.
Hot take, but Aaron Rodgers, in the way we look at MVP, that it's usually going to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
He deserves it. But I personally, if I had a vote, I think the best player in football this year was Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. I'm at the point with Rodgers with his MVPs. I kind of feel like, before Giannis won his ring or before LeBron won his ring, I really don't care if he's going to keep, playing the way he does in the postseason. Like, I really don't care about his MVP awards at this point. He has to show up in the postseason. So good for him. He deserved it for the regular season, at least if we're talking quarterbacks. But he's really got to, not only score 10 points in a postseason game. I think it was 3 points in the second half, to move me. Because, it's cool. He played well in the regular season, but he hadn't shown up in a postseason in 10 years.
So what is more likely come September of 2022? Aaron Rodgers is a Packer or Damian Lillard is a Portland Trailblazer?
Definitely Damian Lillard. That dude will not run from the grind if his life depends on.
Cooper Kupp got a vote for MVP.
Oh,
there we
one
go.
Vote.
Did Brady get
Rodgers
a vote?
at 39, Brady
We'll
at 10.
take it.
So Cooper Kupp finished third in MVP voting. Congratulations. That's
Good for
awesome.
him.
Yeah,
that play he had to burn the defense
Antoine Winfield. Oh my
game.
Yeah.
Just a tragedy
for
on
a slot receiver. That's
he's an unbelievable find by Sean McVay and the Rams out of Eastern Washington. That talk about changing everything, and then you go all in on Matt Stafford, who I've always been a huge Matt Stafford fan.
Yeah, we've talked about him a lot.
I thought him in Detroit was like criminally underrated, and it's kind of sad that he's now on the best team of his career at this stage of his career, because prime Matt Stafford was really special. He led the league in passing one year in like a season where Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady were like all at their best. Like he really was a spectacular quarterback.
And his stats are going to back that up at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Like when we're looking back on quarterbacks, he's going to very much be in that, top 15, top 20 quarterbacks ever discussion. Especially if he wins. If he goes out here and wins like back-to-back Super Bowls, you could make a case for him like top 10 quarterbacks ever, honestly. If he goes out here, wins this game, comes back next year, the Rams, are just coming off that Super Bowl on fire, win it all. And this is all hypothetical. They could lose Sunday and never win. But if they ended up doing that, you start talking about Stafford with a lot of great quarterbacks who people would have laughed at, a while ago. Kupp.
Yeah, imagine comparing him to Breeze like 2 years ago.
I'm with you, Aaron. Kupp should have won MVP.
Yes. Aaron is a huge Rams fan. Despite his name, he did not want Aaron Rodgers to win, I'm sure. But shout out to Aaron, though. The one Rams fan I knew when I lived in California before they moved back to LA. So shout out Aaron.
So do you guys want to talk about this the Super Bowl now or Karis LeVert?
I want to talk about Derek White and then the LeVert, and then we can talk about the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So Derek White got traded to Celtics. I thought it was a really, really good pickup for them. They gave up Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first-round pick. Derek White's a guy who can flat-out score the basketball, which takes pressure off of Brown and Tatum, especially if he comes off the bench, which I assume he will. He can, I think he's a pretty good defender. He's been well coached in his career by Popovich. Hasn't really been able to, show how. I don't think he's been able to show just how good he is because a lot of defensive attention is on him in San Antonio. Though DeJounte Murray is special, but outside of that, they don't really have anything. I think Derek White's going to shine in Boston. I think it was a great trade for both sides because the Spurs got that first-round pick. Maybe they should trade Murray this summer and actually finally go into a full rebuild. But I think it was a great trade for both sides. Probably the most balanced trade at this deadline, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know a lot of Celtic fans that thought that this trade was going to be a point to where they were going to trade Marcus Smart today also. I for basketball's sake, I'm glad that they didn't. I probably like Marcus Smart more than most.
Yeah, I like Marcus Smart.
I love that defensive, like, stopping point guard. Like, I really do. Like Marcus Smart and Alex Caruso, Patrick Beverly. I just think those guys are invaluable because the league is so now shifted towards like having these really awesome guards. And if you can get a guy deep in a postseason that can honestly guard a guy like Kyrie, if Kyrie can't play in Brooklyn, if you have Marcus Smart, the guy that can guard him in Boston, I think that keeping Marcus Smart was a really, really good thought. And I can't believe that Celtic fans actually thought that they might move on from Marcus Smart today.
That's how I feel with Isaac Okoro in Cleveland, already one of the best wing defenders in basketball. Very excited to see how he performs in the postseason because we've seen Marcus Smart have success guarding, superstars in playoff series. So, that's definitely something I agree is very valuable. I remember earlier this season, there was a lot of Cavs fans saying, because Okoro wasn't performing offensively, he should be traded. And I was not a fan of that. So I'm very happy the Cavs management was smart. And the Celtics management was smart too, because people were talking a lot about Marcus Smart to Utah. And because Utah doesn't really have any wing defenders. They have, probably the best.
And they just traded Ingles.
Well, Ingles is out for the year with the torn ACL though, but
they
need wing defense, and that's so valuable in the playoffs. Like in the regular season, he might miss some big shots here and there, but in the playoffs, you really need that guy who can just, because you're playing against these superstars every night in the playoffs. Like even the weaker teams usually have one of those guys who's just unbelievable. So I think
the Hawks might get in as a play-in team. They have Trae Young.
I don't even think the Hawks can make as a playing team, to be honest. But if they do, they'll be
like it's scary to think that even if you play Atlanta, they have a star guard, right? If you play
Toronto,
going through,
I love them.
If you play,
and the way that Siakam has been playing recently,
Siakam's been awesome.
That's a hard out.
If you go 10-1 in the East, you have Trae, then LaMelo, then Kyrie. Boston's like the one team that doesn't have like a superstar guard, but then Brown and Tatum are like wings anyways. Van Vliet, Harden, Garland, Levine / DeRozan, Drew Holiday, like Jimmy Butler, if you want to count him as a point guard, essentially. Like there are a lot of talented guards in the East, and if you can have a guy that can you don't even have to guard him 45 minutes a game, just that key possession, that do or die, you have to get a stop here. The difference in having an Isaac Okoro or a Marcus Smart and having a Kevin Pangos is pretty drastic.
Yeah,
I don't think I can say
Kevin Pangos. By the way, last night was Kevin Pangos' last game in the NBA. He had very interesting clause in his contract. And I've never heard of this before, but he had a clause in his contract he could go to Europe whenever he wanted during the season. So before last night's game against the for the Cavs, he told the team that he was going to be leaving, and he's not a member of the team anymore.
All right. Well, thank you for your 24 games of service, buddy.
Big shout out to
23% from 3.
Big shout out to Tom Thibodeau right now, as he's actually doing something I never thought he would. He's letting Cam Reddish play basketball. It's amazing that we actually traded a first-round pick and Kevin Knox for a guy that they've been treating like he's Kevin Knox. So with about 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, Cam Reddish already 10 minutes off the bench, leads the Knicks in bench minutes, 4 for 5 from the field, 1 for 2 from deep, 9 points. Like at least he's actually letting Cam Reddish play. I would really love to see what Cam Reddish can do for this team. Mm-hmm. Enough of Alec Burks, please.
Alec Burks.
In the 2019 draft, Cam Reddish was the guy I wanted. Now, thank God we drafted Darius Garland, but when the trade rumors were going on, I was like, I want Cam Reddish in Cleveland. Like, we can get him for, like probably our second round pick from Houston. They probably would have accepted with the trade you guys gave him. So I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get him because he's a very good basketball player. And my issue with Thibodeau has always been the guy is probably top 5 defensive minds the NBA's ever seen. I'm dead serious. Like that dude, he knows how to coach defense. But the issue with Thibodeau is he overplays the hell out of his starters and like has like a 6th or 7th man, plays a lot of minutes and doesn't play anyone else. So play his starters like it feels like 40 minutes a night. And
Well,
he
that's
never
how
gets
R.J. Barrett got hurt the other day. Tom
Yep.
Thibodeau left him in
Because
with
he
like
was
30 seconds left in
they
a
were down by like
20-point game.
15. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes no like I don't understand how a guy doesn't learn that after you keep Derrick Rose in when you're down by 12 in a postseason game and cost your team not only the series, but they had a chance to go all the way that year. And I mean, they probably weren't because the Heat were there, but they were going to be a very strong contender. And I don't know how a guy doesn't learn his lesson after that. I mean, it's crazy to me, honestly. And I think part of the reason why Randall struggled this year now, I think Randall's confidence is just shot, but part of it is that he was overplayed so many minutes last year. Like he played a ridiculous amount of minutes last year, and he was definitely worn out going into this year because last year, I mean, obviously they lost in the first round, but the first round was what, mid-May, late May. So he only had like a few months before, or like 4 months between that and training camp. And I'm not saying that Randall deserves to blame Thibodeau for how he's played, but definitely didn't help that he had to play so much last year.
Well, I also think if we're going to talk about Julius Randle, I do think that we have to give him, I don't want to call it credit, but he has been averaging 30 a game over his last 4 games.
Yeah, he's playing better now.
He's playing better now. He's got 10 tonight. Doesn't look like it's been a great shooting night, but he already has 10 and 10 in the first half, 10, 10 and 5, 3 of 8 from the field, 0 of 1 from deep at the moment. Like, he is playing better. Does it matter and will it last? But he is playing better. So we do have to throw that caveat into the Julius Randle conversation.
And a point I was making, I think I've made this to both of you guys off stream, is that you look at a guy like Pascal Siakam, right? Played awful in the bubble in 2020, comes back last year, had an underwhelming season, and then you get Fred VanVleet playing the best basketball of his career. Scotty Barnes is the second best rookie besides Evan Mobley, and he looks like borderline all-star now. He looks like the same player who was second option to Kawhi when they won the championship, or third option.
He's been balling.
He's been awesome. So I think there is value in holding on to Randall as opposed to just letting him go, as a desperation trade like the Mavericks made with Porzingis, or like the Pacers I felt like made with LeVert, which we're going to talk about shortly. But I think there is a lot of value in that, and keeping a guy who can play at that level. Like, it's not like Randall just overnight became a scrub. At some point, he's going to be a good basketball player again. It's just a matter of when he gets that confidence back. And so
I have to ask, because of the pure incompetency of the Sacramento Kings, could the Knicks have gotten Tyrese Halliburton for Julius Randle?
probably.
Do you think if they did it for Sabonis, like, do you think that the Knicks could have given? Do you think that but it's the Kings we're talking about? Do you think the Knicks
legitimately, I don't know.
Could have gotten
I don't think they value
Halliburton and Buddy Hield for Julius Randle?
I think
maybe.
I think they really like how Sabonis and Fox works in the pick and roll. I mean, it looks good last night, but I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. They're the Kings we're talking about, so I don't know.
Right. I think they could have done it. I think if Leon Rose had placed the phone call and said, we'll give you Julius Randle and we'll take your bad contract of Buddy Hield and you give us, I don't know, Tyrese Halliburton, I think the Kings would have done it. I totally think the Kings would have done it. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah, they do not understand basketball.
It's crazy. I mean, at this point, it feels like it has to be on purpose. I mean, eight teams in each conference make the playoffs every year. You haven't made the playoffs.
I gotta find the Kyrie quote.
That should be mathematically impossible. The funniest thing was last week when Kyrie said the Kings are playing like it's playoff basketball. And shout out Respect My 40. He comes in the chat last week and he says, what do the Kings know about playoff basketball? They haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years. It's just excuses by Kyrie. That had me dead.
I gotta find the real quote, because I was in tears. I was on the floor, like pounding the floor, because I was in tears. That was so funny. And it is the most Kyrie thing to say of all time, that you're getting playoff level basketball from the Kings, which no, you're not. But the Kings are such like a disaster that, at least like in other sports, like the Mariners, I've talked with Jake about it, like the Mariners have an excuse because there were 8 teams out of 30 that made the playoffs for a long time, then 10 out of 30, and then the one year was 16 out of 30. They had a lot of really good seasons that they won 92 games, 94 games. In 2002, they were awesome, but they had the Moneyball A's that won 22 games in a row and the champion Angels. Okay, that happens. I understand you don't have to be better than the Curry Warriors, or you don't have to be better than the Lob City Clippers or the Kobe Lakers. That's fine, but at least be top 8. Like, is that too hard to ask? And they barely made it into the bubble year. That they had 13 teams. Like, they barely made it in there. And it's like, this is a disaster of an organization. I don't know how you can go 16 years without making the playoffs. Or now, I guess
It's literally impossible.
Yeah, year 16.
Like, people have talked about, the Cavs and how, the first, when LeBron left, they were so bad, but they were going to make the playoffs that year LeBron came back. Like, they had
they were making
Kyrie,
progress.
They had Wiggins. They had Tristan Thompson, who was a good player. They had Waiters, who was developing before. I think LeBron hurt him a lot.
One of my favorite players ever, Dion Waiters. Mr. Confidence. I love the guy that has absolutely no business being on the floor in the last 5 minutes, but is just like, hey, LeBron, get out of my way. I got this. I'm Dion Waiters. I love that. I love Dion Waiters.
Yes. My favorite Dion Waiters moment was they were playing the Pistons, and it was 2013, 2014. It was probably 70 games into the year. Cavs were a game and a half back or 2.5 games back of the playoffs, something like that. They weren't right there, but they were very close. And Waiters hit he catches the ball, takes a step back, hits a buzzer beater to win it in their face, and I think it was Reggie Jackson's face. And then Cavs proceeds to lose 11 of the last 12, missed the playoffs. But that will always be my favorite Waiters moment. I thought that he was destined for greatness after that shot.
So, Cavs, sorry to cut you guys off, but Mavericks Clippers just went final. Luka had 51.
Holy Christmas!
Well,
Jesus.
Luka finishes with 51, 9 and 6. That he basically did it all. Brunson had 11, Reggie Bullock 11, Dorian Finney-Smith 12. Off the bench, Max Kleber had 8. Frank Ntilikina, shout out, got 7 minutes, scored 5 points. But essentially,
I was a big fan of him.
Essentially, it was Luka versus the Clippers tonight, and Luka won.
He just
17 to 26 from the field.
Regardless of them losing that bubble series or whatever, and losing last year, Luka owns the Clippers. Every time they play, he just goes crazy. I still can't believe they lost that playoff series last year. They go 2-0, have home court advantage, looking good in game 3. I think they had an 18-point lead, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was even higher.
I want to say you're right.
And then
have they lost to the Clippers in back-to-back rounds?
Yeah, they were up I'm pretty sure it was 31-13 they were up. And then they just blow it. I mean, that was unbelievable to me. You have a team up 2-0 on the road, up 18 in game 3. It basically felt like the series was over, and then
the Clippers blew that lead to the Nuggets. I still will never understand how you blow a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets.
That wasn't even the craziest Clippers blown lead of the last decade, though. If you think about it, when they played the Rockets,
that's true.
Granted, they didn't have Kawhi and Paul George, who were better than Lob City, but they did have a 20-point lead going in
against Josh Smith
and Corey Brewer. It wasn't even
Corey Brewer and Josh Smith.
Harden was on the bench sulking while Corey Brewer, the worst member of the Florida team, that's one of the great college basketball teams of all time.
Sir.
Yeah.
Corey Brewer leads back the Houston Rockets against Chris Paul. And then the next year, or it might have been the year before.
Just bang.
And then it might have been the year before. You have Chris Paul dribbling it off his foot against the Thunder. It was a rough stretch of playoff basketball for CP3.
And now he's an NBA finalist before. He one-time NBA finalist now.
CP3, though, I feel like a lot of people, especially after last year, honestly, a lot of people view CP3 as a choker. I think he starts getting into he's cemented his legacy. Chris Paul's an all-time top 5 point guard of all time, but
probably top 3 point guard all time.
Yeah, top 5 minimum. I mean, you could argue Isaiah Thomas is better than him. You could argue Oscar Robertson's better than him.
Now, which Isaiah Thomas? I'm joking.
Right, I was about to say probably Magic, Oscar, Isaiah,
Curry. I think Curry's number 1, personally.
Trying to think. Stockton.
Yes, I'd take Paul over Stockton. But
I
they
think
both
I think I would take CP3 over Stockton. I think just the defense you get, like, I know Stockton accumulated a lot of steals, but I don't think if you're a point guard in that era, I don't think you're like going into a game thinking, okay, John Stockton is going to have me locked down. I think Chris Paul can do that. Stockton's more
Kidd?
like the
Jason Kidd?
Kidd's nice. I don't think he had enough of an offensive game.
Prime Jason Kidd?
I think I would take Chris Paul over him.
Yeah, I think.
Actually,
Yeah.
Question: what's the best iteration of Chris Paul? Because I have like a soft spot for Hornets Chris Paul.
My favorite Chris Paul and Chris Paul's favorite Chris Paul was Thunder Chris Paul. That year, fair. Just leading that young team to the 5 speed with, I mean, he had young talent like across the board, but he was what made that team go, and he almost beat his partner in crime the year before, James Harden, in the playoff series. Yeah. It was very close. And that year before, it seemed like there was a lot of animosity between them because they were up 2-1 in that. No, it was 2-2, and KD goes down in Game 5, and it's like, this is, that was that year, right? And it's like, this is the time for the Rockets to go, and then they turn back to the Splash Bros Warriors and close them out in 6, and then Chris Paul has the guy who he had, all these issues with over summer on the ropes, and I remember there was a bad Westbrook turnover in the last minute. I think CP3 missed a shot to lose it, but that was just an incredible series and season by Chris Paul, what he did with that team.
So we got to get into the LeVert trade.
Yes.
I'll leave you the floor as the Cavs fan, but I just saw that note on the bottom. Cavs going to win 2022 chip. So let's hear it. Let's hear the thoughts.
So what I love about the LeVert trade is I feel like he's the piece the Cavs are missing. That sadly went down with Colin Sexton, possibly
come back.
But it was a season-ending injury at the time. I think you could even see in the game last night when he didn't even shoot that well. He was 4 of 11 for 11 points, 2 assists, but he has spread the floor so much because the Cavs finally have a second scorer. The defense can't just have Garland, just locked down as the only guy who can, make moves to the hoop, get, make plays around the rim and, facilitate really well. It's now they got LeVert, and he came up really big in the clutch. He had a big step back jumper and a really nice pass. And I think it's just a sign of what's to come. I mean, they've got everything besides that guy, and I don't see any reason why LeVert can't be that guy. It brings this season from hopefully we win a playoff series to I'll be disappointed. Like I'll be happy with the season regardless, but if we're not in the Eastern Conference semifinals and competitive in that series, I'll be disappointed with how it ended. Even though I'll look back on the year and still be very happy. I mean, we've got or at least 5 years worth of greatness in this team ahead of us, assuming no injuries, hopefully. But I was so happy when we made the trade because the only thing I was worried about was they were going to overpay, like they were going to have a Sexton or an Okoro. And the fact they didn't do that and they got him, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. And they're talking championship. I think they got a perfect mix of young talent and veteran presence to do it. The only thing that sucks is how loaded the Eastern Conference is. But I think this team could give anyone a run for their money. So I'm very excited.
I think
my fellow
the value.
How do you feel about it?
Oh, I think you bring some value with LeVert, and I've mentioned it before that just having good basketball players is really important. Some people don't realize just having like a 7th or 8th guy that you trust with the ball in their hand is wildly important when you get to the end of the regular season, when you get into these playoff series. That I think the Cavs have, 6, 7, 8 guys that 2 minutes to go, 4th quarter, you're up by 2, you have to hit a shot. There's a bunch of guys that I trust to hit a shot, and there's a bunch of guys that I trust to handle the basketball. LeVert is one, Garland, depending on if Sexton comes back. Like, I think Okoro can hit a big shot if he needs to. Kevin Love has been there, done that. Then the bigs can finish around the basket. And I think the Cavs have, if you're looking at like odds, I think the Cavs, if like a championship odds, I think the Cavs, you have to at least have the conversation. This team has enough talent. This team has enough dudes that maybe they could win. I'm not saying they will win it like 1, 2, 3, 4 friendly fire says, but I think you have to have the conversation with them. It's like, to me, in the NBA or the NFL season, like the Super Bowl conversation started with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can win the Super Bowl. If you're worse than the Pittsburgh Steelers, like I'm thinking Jets, Panthers, Texans, Jags, teams like that, you're not thinking about Super Bowl. But if you're the Steelers, are you going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But do you have potentially the pieces? Maybe. I think the Cavs are in the same situation that I think they're good enough that if the Cavs win the 2022 title, I'm not shocked. Like if a team worse than the Cavs does, like if the Hawks win, I'm shocked. Right. Or if the Timberwolves, I'm shocked. But I think the Cavs are in like the top 10, 11 teams in the NBA. And I think they can do some serious damage this year.
The NBA is so wide open this year, too. I mean, if you look at like, I think in the power rankings last week, the Cavs were 5th and the Bulls were like 11th. And the Bulls, I think a lot of people would say, have a good chance to win a championship this year. So I think the NBA is so wide open this year. I mean, anybody gets hot around that time.
Right.
And, they have a good chance. I think the thing in the Eastern Conference is there's a lot of depth, but there's no, 2015 or, 2017, 2018 Cavs Warriors where it's like, or 2016, 2017 really, because that 2018 Cavs team actually did have a tough time in playoffs. But
they were terrible.
2017 Cavs and Warriors where it's like, oh, this team's going to win it. Yeah, the Nets have a nice roster, but I don't think anybody's saying the Nets are just going to breeze through the East. Like, I think they're going to have a very tough time if they do it. I honestly don't think the Nets are going to be the finals team. I think, like I said before, I think I'd choose the Bucks, but I think the Cavs have as good of a chance as anyone, honestly. I think also the big thing for this is if you look at the Knicks last year, right, because the Cavs haters have said they're going to be like the Knicks last year. They've got a lot of young talent. They're going to fade out in the first round. But the Knicks had that one guy who really trusted with the ball in his hands, which was besides that one game I was actually watching with Jacob when I believe they won when Alec Burks was going crazy. But
game two was the game they were down 13 at the half, and then Alec Burks took over in the third. They had the alley-oop to Obi Toppin. Derrick Rose played well, and it was the only half where Julius Randle looked like Julius Randle.
Yeah, I remember we were watching
the entire series.
I remember we were watching that. I'm like, you guys gonna win this?
Right now, the Cavs are, according to FanDuel, 10th odds-wise to win the NBA title at plus 4,800. Teams ahead of them are Denver, the Lakers, Memphis, Chicago, Utah, Miami, Philly, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Golden State, and Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think Denver, LA, and who was the other team I thought was crazy? Denver, the Lakers, and Utah. I don't think those teams. I think the Cavs have a better chance than those three. But I think also with FanDuel, you gotta remember they're gonna like Jokic is big name. Utah's been there. The Lakers have LeBron James. There's always that feeling when you have LeBron
and
James
Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
and Carmelo. Let's not leave out Carmelo.
Yeah. Oh man, Carmelo, and they have
the retirement home team right there.
Yeah.
My dad's least favorite basketball player of all time, Carmelo Anthony.
That's pretty funny.
That's harsh.
My dad does not like Carmelo Anthony. Not a Carmelo guy.
Yeah, but I think the Lakers, this Lakers team, I don't think is gonna make it past the play-in personally. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs at all. But there's always that feeling you got LeBron James. Oh, what's up, Moyles? There's always that.
What up, Phil?
There's always that feeling that you have LeBron, you have a chance. This Lakers team does not have a chance. The Nuggets, if they got Jamal Murray back, could do damage. But I don't think Jamal Murray's coming back this year. There's been no signs of him progressing towards that. And Jokic isn't going past the conference semifinals by himself. Utah's looks really poor at a lot of times this year, and I'm not trusting a team with Rudy Gobert having to switch on to guards when he in pick and roll type of situations in the playoffs. So I think Cavs above those three teams. I think the other six are completely fair.
And I think part of that is also due to the fact that you're not even sure the Cavs can make it out of the East, right? The West is a little bit. It might be better at the top, but there's more cracks and crevices in the West to be like the third best team. In the East, it's like the top 7 teams are like all clumped together. So it's kind of, it's like, I'm going to give you a weird example. It's like the Ravens and Browns were pretty much co-favorites to win the AFC North. So if you were taking like one of them to win the Super or one of them to win the AFC, they were like interfering with each other. Like how like Durant and Westbrook, if both of them are healthy on the Thunder, they're not going to win MVP because they're going to steal votes from each other. So I think that's part of it, that you don't even trust they're going to make it to the finals because they have to play a coin flip Eastern Conference Finals, a coin flip second round, a coin flip first round, and then like a Denver might get Utah in the first round and then skyrocket on up.
Yeah, well, I think in the West it's really interesting. There's 10 good teams. Yeah, I completely agree. I think if the Clippers got Kawhi or PG back, I think it could be very interesting. But other than that, I think the 3 teams are going to have a chance to make the finals in the West are the Warriors, the Suns, and the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies honestly are my pick right now. I love
I agree.
the way this Grizzlies team is built. I think
I'm going with the Suns.
Defense. They have the star power. They have the shooting. They have the rebound. They have everything you could ask for out of a basketball team. They have the youth to be able to play those big minutes in the playoffs. I really like this Grizzlies team, and it's gonna be the NBA's nightmare ratings wise for the second year in a row when if it's a Grizzlies Bucks final. So like I predict right now.
Oh, it's gonna be Cavs Grizzlies in a couple of years. 2 people are gonna watch the finals. It's gonna be you and I.
David Stern would never allow that. If God rest his soul, David Stern would have sent the call down to the league and been like, all right, LeBron is getting every call in the playoffs. Every time he drives, it's a foul. Let's go. We got to get the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals or something. Like the David Stern NBA would never allow a Memphis-Milwaukee finals. Yeah,
San Antonio, New Jersey was bad, but I think Memphis-Milwaukee might be a step worse.
So Garland's really developing into like a media like darling before our eyes right now. Like he was on they've been talking about him a lot. He's been interviewed by a lot of people recently. Like he was on the Draymond Green show yesterday, and like he was on I forget what it was. It was some like pretty big basketball like magazine type of thing he was talking with. So I think they're trying to develop like that superstar kind of personality, or because he has that personality. Like everyone around Darius Garland loves him. But I still think, despite all that, if it was a Memphis-Cleveland final, the NBA would not know what to do with themselves, and I'd love it. So, it'd be awesome. But yeah, so overall, I really like the LeVert trade. The other thing I didn't mention is I really love because a couple weeks ago everyone was saying, "Oh, you're gonna have to give up 2 first-round picks. You're gonna have to give up Okoro or Sexton." I'm just so happy the Cavs didn't overpay. Like I would have rather not gotten LeVert than have to trade Okoro, and we got the best of both worlds. We didn't. We had to give up 1 first rounder basically because we switched second rounders. We traded them Houston second round pick, which was basically a late first rounder, and we got what was it? Heat second rounder. So
yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I'm very happy with that trade.
I think I found
elevates us from a possible maybe win a first round series to we could go all the way if everything works out. So
I found a glitch in the Matrix. If you go on Basketball Reference and you sort the Western Conference by win the conference, the Spurs are more likely to win the conference than the Lakers are right now. I just think that is hilarious.
Yeah, that's not surprising because if you look at the Lakers, the craziest thing about this team, and number one, they had, I think, the low point of the season last night, losing to that Blazers team with Simons being their only good player. I mean, Nurkic, I guess some people consider a good basketball player. I'm not a fan of Nurkic.
Hey, Simons is a legend for our show. He was one of the first guys we ever talked about.
He was. I think it might have been the first. If I remember.
Yeah, he was. I think he was the first name drop in one of our titles.
Yeah,
Simon's legit. I called him the next Anthony Lynn.
I think
Anthony Lynn. Wow, Jeremy Lin.
Alex Lynn? Oh, Jeremy Lin. I think Simon's gonna be a beast. But I mean, you're the Lakers. You have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Malik Monk, who's been a really good player this year. But there's no reason these should be losing to the Blazers. I mean, because they've been saying Russell Westbrook's the problem. Russell Westbrook's this, Russell Westbrook's that. Russell Westbrook's out last night, and you lose to a Blazers team that just traded their whole team away. And the schedule just gets harder from here. The last 26 games, I think I was looking at, there was like 4 or 5 games I'm pretty sure they're going to win. The rest of the schedule is really tough. So I'm very excited to see how that goes down the line because I really like LeBron. Like, I'm a Cavs fan. Would never, say LeBron, whatever. But the rest of that team is so unbearable to watch. And I just love to see it go as bad as possible because I do not like the way that team's built at all.
So I have a good buddy that today texted me. He placed this bet today. He has the Lakers winning the NBA Finals at plus 1,800. He goes, I said there's no way that's possible. He says LeBron and AD eventually going to figure it out. He likes the odds and picked the Lakers to win the NBA Finals today.
Wow.
You know what
There's someone on the
thing
app, the uSTADIUM app, that made a take, and I think it was the Lakers win the 2K22 title. That's like, I don't think so.
James.
Well, every time
James,
you sim a season in 2K, the Lakers win the chip.
Yeah,
This is true. This is true.
James said that made me punch my TV. Almost punched my TV yesterday. So if I was a Lakers fan, I would be very mad at the games. Like, there's no reason you should be losing those games. Crazy stat I read today. Since I've been a big Westbrook defender with this team, I'm not saying Westbrook's playing good basketball. I think it was the worst fit for them. They should have went for Kyle Lowry. They went for the superstar, and they created the situation for themselves. And now they're using Westbrook as the scapegoat. But a very interesting stat I saw earlier is when Westbrook's not, or when Anthony Davis is playing, they're winning 45% of the games. When Westbrook's playing, they're winning 48% of their games. In my opinion, Anthony Davis has been a lot more of the problem than people want to talk about this year because he's a big man. So a lot of people don't watch big man basketball. They're more like focused on the guards or whatever. Anthony Davis has not been nearly the defensive presence he was his whole career. I mean, I'd go as far as say he's pretty close to an average defender at this point, or this year. He's been awful shooting jumpers. I think at one point in the season, he was shooting 15% on shots outside the paint.
Yeah, it was he and Randall that just couldn't buy a bucket from outside of the paint.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny to me. Yeah. I don't think AD can either. It's kind of funny to me how, because AD was the guy there when they won the championship, nobody's blaming him and he got hurt and stuff. But with Westbrook, it's like Westbrook had, when we were on the show one night, he had a game, he was 12 of 23, 35 points, 1 turnover. He misses the three at the end of the game when they're down by 2. He was the only one of the big 3 playing, and he gets all the play.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me. I think him and Randall are going through a similar thing right now, where the media, no matter what they do, they're wrong. In New York and LA, no matter what they do, they're wrong. I think their confidence is just shot, and the worst thing you can have as an athlete is your confidence shot. That's the worst thing you have an athlete. You can have an athlete that's overconfident. You can work with that. Once an athlete's confidence is shot.
Oh, Dion Waiters?
Well, yeah, exactly.
The best.
What
the absolute best.
What gets you to a professional level?
Or JR.
It's being confident is what gets you to the professional level as an athlete. If you lose that, what do you have? You know what I mean? You have your athleticism, you have this, but it doesn't really mean anything.
It's like kind of in like a roundabout way. It's like when you have a guy with a serious injury and they don't trust like their knee to hold up when they're driving to the basket. It's almost like they have a roadblock in their head that, well, maybe I shouldn't take this jumper. And like having a mental roadblock can almost be as powerful as that physical roadblock that you have to overcome. And it's almost like the yips in baseball, or it just sucks to see like Westbrook and Randall, 2 incredibly talented guys. Like I remember particularly Randall coming out of Kentucky. I was like, this guy is absolutely unreal. I tried to get him in every single one of my 2K sims. Like I was a huge fan. Then he goes to the Lakers, gets injured. It's like, well, darn. And now he's, balling out with he was balling out with the Knicks this year. Hasn't been quite as good, but like he's an incredibly talented basketball player. Westbrook is an incredibly talented basketball player. And it just sucks to see that they don't necessarily believe that 110% every time they're on the court.
Yeah. And the thing that's sad for me with Randall, too, is Randall brought the Knicks to their best season in, 8 years last year?
Since the 54-win team in 2013 when Carmelo got stuffed at the rim by Roy Hibbert.
Yeah.
That ended the series.
Yeah. That I remember. I was actually rooting for the Knicks in that series. I remember how much everyone loved Randall. What is it? 9 months ago?
It's the biggest fall from grace I've ever seen a New York athlete have. It was so 6 months, or I shouldn't say biggest, I'll say quickest, because 6 months ago Julius Randle owned the city. He was we had just given him the extension. He had led us to the playoffs. He was the guy that was here. And I can't remember, except for maybe Matt Harvey, a guy going from so beloved to get him off my team as fast as Julius Randle had that happen. The Knicks fans today, throughout the week, were praying that there was going to be some situation, some stars aligning where Julius Randle would be dealt. because it has been so unbelievably frustrating beyond the basketball into the body language stuff, the morale stuff, that I think you have to put him in a class with Matt Harvey, with Mark Sanchez as the guys that not Jamal, because Jamal Adams, when last played for the Jets, was still a very productive player. It was just, it went ugly and he was traded, but he never got the home booze because he wasn't a Jet after it all went down the way that Julius Randle has been booed in Madison Square Garden recently. I wouldn't say Amari again, because I think in retrospect, those Carmelo Amari teams, because of the lack of success that the Knicks have become so beloved that I wouldn't necessarily say Amari Stoudemire. I mean, like those Knicks teams have almost become, because of how bad they were after until last year, Amari, Steve Novak, Shumpert, and those guys sort of are on a different. It ended badly, but it's different. It's different.
I've got, Amari Stoudemire, because Jacob knows I used to wear sports glasses, and Amari Stoudemire was like my favorite player for that, because like when I first started watching like third grade, because he rocked the sports glasses and everything. And he went to New York, and I remember I went to I think it was a Wizards game in the 2010-2011 season. This was before they got Melo, and everyone's chanting MVP, MVP for Stoudemire. And it felt like as soon as they got Melo, we never saw that version of Stoudemire ever again. Never saw that version of Stoudemire.
Send Randall packing. Need to get Obi more playing time. I don't necessarily disagree with getting Obi more playing time, but I also think that Obi is very raw and he's very athletic, and I know it can be super fun when he, can do a between the legs dunk from the free throw line in game in Indiana, and he has these cool alley-oops and all that, but he is very raw. The jump shot hasn't come along. Defensively, it's very up and down. It's very inconsistent. And he's just not a guy at the moment that I think you can give 40 minutes to. But I would love to see him get more, because about midway through the third quarter, he has played, he's played 5 minutes.
Oof.
That's just, it's not enough. Julius Randle's played 22 minutes, Mitchell Robinson 18, Kemba 18, Quentin Grimes has played 21, and Obi's at 5. So I do agree they need to get Obi more playing time. I would love to see what he can really do playing 25, 30 minutes a night. But Randle's in his way, and Thibodeau has attached himself to Randle, where I think he has the philosophy at this point where this guy's either going to make me or break me. He's either going to win me coach of the year like he did last year, or he's going to get me fired. I think we're at that point with Randle and with Tibbs. So I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Obi is in prime position to be traded in the summer for whoever it is that they go after this summer. If there is a superstar trade out there for them, I think Obi and Emmanuel Quickly are probably the guys that are going to be the first two out the door.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing, because I like them.
I think the thing with the Knicks is, I think a lot of Knicks fans see this year and think they're heading for another, 2015 to 2020 Knicks, and last year is just an anomaly, which I completely disagree with. I think when you have somebody like RJ Barrett, who's shown what he is this year, you're not going to go back to sucking. You need to retool, not rebuild at this point.
Right. This is not the Lance Thomas, Ron Baker Knicks. I want everybody to understand.
That's a name.
It is not that bad. This is not the Andrea Bargnani New York Knicks.
Oh my God.
That's a name and a half.
I understand that it's not pretty right now, but I mean, if you look at the roster and you understand that most of these contracts, while they're not great, it's not like they're 4 years. They're mostly 2 with the team option. I think Fournier is 2 with the team option. I think Noel is 2 with the team option. So those will come off at the end of next season at the latest if they're not traded beforehand. I do think Leon Rose and Worldwide West have a better understanding of what they're doing than Scott Perry and Steve Mills ever did. I understand that this season isn't folding the way that Knicks fans wanted it to. The East is also a lot better this year than it was last year. So I think people just have to kind of let the chips fall where they may. and we'll see where it is in the summer. There's also a logjam. They just have too many guys that need minutes.
Yeah.
On the
And
bench.
Tibbs
You
just
have an
doesn't-
emerging guy. You have an emerging guy in Quentin Grimes,
I
Quickly,
like Quentin Grimes a
Toppin,
lot.
Burks, Reddish. I would even love to see Miles McBride get more minutes. I think he showed flashes. Tibbs screwed us out of RJ Barrett. Yeah, you got to take the good and the bad with Tibbs. You know his teams are going to play hard every night, but also things like this can happen where
he's
you're
gonna
down
overplay his
15
player.
to 20 and he's going to overplay him and RJ Barrett tweaks his ankle.
Yep.
If I'm
Is
the
he out
Knicks,
tonight?
he's out tonight. If I'm the
That
Knicks,
sucks.
honestly, I'm shutting down Derrick Rose for the rest of the season, depending on how RJ's knee is. I'm not shutting him down, but I'm certainly holding him out aggressively longer. And I want to see what the younger guys have because that's what this season is about. The hood ready for the Cavs to ruin Harden's debut.
I love it because the Cavs played the Nets right after they got James Harden, and Colin Sexton put up 42, and he scored 20 straight points.
Yes.
I think it was the most points ever scored between an overtime periods in NBA history, if I remember correct, and in a row. And I think
It's either that or LeBron.
Yeah,
because like LeBron had
LeBron
20.
in regulation, right? It started.
It was I want to say end of regulation, first overtime, second overtime against Detroit.
So it's up there though.
row.
I think it was regular season most ever.
Okay.
And I'm very excited because these teams, as we know, are going to be. I mean, the Harden and Embiid duo is not going to be on Saturday what it is going to be in April or May. So I think I think there's a very good chance the Cavs. I mean, I think the Cavs can beat them regardless. I think even when Harden and Embiid are cooking, I think the 76ers gave up a lot of depth with that trade, which is going to hurt them. I mean, I know Simmons was basically dead weight at this point. And Andre Drummond is Cavs fans we don't like, but they do need backup center. I mean, you need to give someone those minutes. And Seth Curry, I think, is one of the most underrated players in basketball. I think the Nets got an absolute steal with him. And they gave up 2 first-round picks, which obviously won't affect them this year. But, yeah, I'm very, very excited for that Cavs 76ers game. I think hopefully it's nationally televised because it's going to be Harden's debut in Philadelphia. And hopefully Garland or LeVert does what Sexton did to the Nets last year and makes it a memorable basketball game. That'd be cool.
So before we get into those games, I think we got to get into the game this weekend. I think we got to get into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Superb Owl.
So the line right now is Rams minus 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really low.
Really?
I apologize to all my friends in the Cincinnati area. I go to Miami, Ohio, and Oxford, about 20 minutes away. I got a lot of Bengal fans that I live with, so I'm sorry. The Bengals are like, how do I put this? The Bengals are like the fat kid at the party. And, they're not really supposed to – let me finish. They're not really supposed to be there, right? You had Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers is over in the NFC, and those are the studs. But you know what? Once you're at the party, you never know. It's now 3:00 in the morning, and the girl you've been talking to is the fat kid. It's just like, who knows at this point? Maybe you might just win it. But God, are the Rams a bad matchup for them. I don't know who's blocking Aaron Donald. I don't know what they're going to do if the Rams decide to double Jamar Chase and then single cover T. Higgins with Jalen Ramsey. That was a Belichick thing where you would actually put your best corner on the number 2 receiver and then you would double the number 1 receiver.
Yep.
I just think it's such a brutal matchup. And I know every Bengal fan is like, we just beat Kansas City in Kansas City. They don't have the defensive line that the Rams have. I'll be the first to admit that I thought the Bengals were out of their mind when they took Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. I wrote about it in allnewyorksports.com. I was at a loss of words. They were right. I was wrong. Jamar Chase is Randy Moss. He's unbelievable. But I think the Bengals kind of remind me of the Heat bubble team where I think they got to this point maybe a couple years too early. And I still think that they're going to be great. I still think they need, they're a couple offensive line pieces away. But I think they're just a year or two early. I think they got a couple of lucky breaks, not having to go to Buffalo, getting Ryan Tannehill in the divisional round, the Chiefs botching it on the goal line at the end of the first half in the AFC Championship game.
Still can't believe they screwed that up.
So,
Yeah, I think the Bengals, it's been a great ride. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be rooting for the Bengals. I love a good underdog team. But I just think I just don't know how they are going to block the Rams. I just think it's hard. I know Joe Burrow won the divisional round being sacked 9 times. I don't think that that's something that you can do consistently. I got the Rams big. I'm going 34-20 Rams. Rams by 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
okay.
So as like a Ravens fan, I should agree with the bottom, right? But I kind of know how some of these things work. Like I kind of I'm a pessimistic sports fan sometimes. Jake can back me up on this. I understand the offensive line argument. I know that Akeem Adeniji and Jackson Carman are going to be matched up against Aaron Donald, and that is a disaster. I don't even care if the Bengals put both of them on Donald every single snap, both of them like dual right guards every single snap. That's a disaster, I know. But at a certain point, Joe Burrow has energized that team with so much swagger and male fortitude, and it's just like I almost expect them to win. I expect them to win on Sunday. Like I am going.
I want the Bengals to win at all.
I do not want the Bengals to win in the slightest.
We were talking about this a couple days ago.
Yeah, but when I turn on NBC Sunday night at 4:30 Mountain Standard Time, I am expecting to sit down for about 3.5-4 hours and watch the Bengals beat the Rams. That is my expectation. I know the odds are 3.5, Rams by 3.5, but I've watched Burrow. I've watched a lot of Burrow this year. I don't like watching the Bengals. I hate watching the Bengals, but like for my job, I have to watch a lot of sports. So I end up watching a lot of Bengals because they're good. And Joe Burrow is, as far as I'm concerned, a top 5 quarterback. So, okay, I'll end up watching them. And it is so many things go right for them, but they almost force everything to go right for them. And it's amazing because Zach Taylor sucks at his job. And Zach Taylor is the biggest reason why I don't have any faith in the Bengals like long term. If Zach Taylor was replaced with my cat, the Bengals are winning the next 10 AFC Norths, and they're going to be a Super Bowl staple for the next decade.
Ooh,
but
I have
Zach
some friends
Taylor,
that would disagree with you on your Zach Taylor take.
Zach Taylor has the brain
that think Zach Taylor should have been coach of the year.
No, wrong.
I disagree with the Zach Taylor take as well.
Zach Taylor is, I think he is the obstacle for the Bengals. It's like that franchise guy has like an analogy for the offensive line that there's like bad offensive lines that get in your way. There's okay offensive lines that let you do what you want to do, and good offensive lines that help you do what you want to do. Zach Taylor is like bad. He hurts what you want to do. He actively puts the ball in Joe Mixon's hands way too much. You can refer to my rant yesterday on the sports desk for like a longer form of this, but essentially Zach Taylor it's like a toddler and a mom, right? It's like the toddler knocks over the bowl of cereal and the mom has to clean it up. So when the dad gets home, the floor looks nice. Well, why? Because the toddler knocked over the drink and the mom spent 5 minutes trying to clean it. And Joe Burrow's the mom here and like cleaning up the milk and Cheerios. And it looks great after because you just used the nice Glade air freshener or whatever. But if you don't have it in the first place, if you don't get yourself in these stupid holes in the first place, like losing to the Chargers, why are you losing to the Chargers? Losing to the Browns, why are you losing to the Browns? I know Burrow threw a pick 6 in that game. Why are you losing to the Browns?
But they lost to the Jets.
This is true.
They lost to the Jets.
That was more of a fluky interception.
What was honestly the greatest day of my life. Like it might have been the Mike White game. The Mike White game on October 31st, Halloween 2021 was so unbelievably electric. I don't have the words for it. I went to the game.
Day. Ravens were on bye.
I went to the game the Thursday night against the Colts the following week where all the talk going into the game was, do the Jets have a quarterback controversy? I loved every second of it. Mike White threw the touchdown to Elijah Moore and then essentially was never seen again because he got hurt. And then the next game they played the Bills and it was a disaster.
I think he had COVID. It was out for like a month and a half.
He was right. Then he had COVID, and that's why Joe Flacco played against the Dolphins instead of Mike White. But that was awesome. But
that was awesome. Actually, I have a
Bengals-
story from that day. So the Ravens lost to the Bengals, got like clobbered the week before. So all I heard for a week in the AFC North group chat was Bengals on top. They're going to win the division. Ravens suck. Ravens suck. And the Ravens are on a bye. So like we're just chilling, watching back. And the Jets beat the Bengals. And I sent a 30-second video of me choking myself to the group chat saying like, this is what Joe Burrow did today. And someone saved it, so if I like say something controversial, they'll just send that to me. It's like, are you okay, Splash? It's like, yes, I'm perfectly fine.
I don't recall. I honestly don't recall that 49ers game that Blake was talking about.
That's the game
yeah.
Deebo Samuel went off. It was like one of the first.
Kittle went off too.
It was like one of the first games where the Niners started to figure it out. I remember walking out of that game and being like, the Niners have a legitimate shot to win the NFC.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they did.
Yeah, we were very close to having a Niners-Bengals three match.
Yeah.
So again, this Bengals team is also interesting to me because of, for lack of like the history of the Bengals, because they had that team in the mid 2000s where it's like Ocho Cinco and Carson Palmer, Chris Henry,
they had stupid stuff happen every year too. That guy,
Cedric Benson, and then they have Kimo Van Ohoff run into Palmer's knee in against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, first play of the game they score a touchdown. It's like, okay, then everything went downhill.
They lost
They
lost a bad playoff game to the Jets, and then that team
kind
of
dissolved
because Carson Palmer hated Mike Brown. Essentially, he thought the owners there were cheap. He didn't like the organization in Cincinnati, and it's a real showing that they went from that point to where they are, where they're 60 minutes away from being, if not the most unlikely Super Bowl champion, one of the three.
I think they're second to the 99 Rams, because the Rams had an undrafted quarterback.
I don't want to say
and probably the 07 Giants.
Yeah, 07 Giants is fair.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I did have the Bengals making the Super Bowl. Now, I thought Rodgers was actually not going to choke this postseason, but that didn't happen. So I did have the Packers winning it, but I did have the Bengals making the Super Bowl. So
this is true.
Pretty happy with that pick.
Although you did tell me the Eagles were beating the Bucks, and I laughed at you.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if you know this story, Splash, but one year, it was when LeBron was in Miami. It was Jake's birthday, and I got him an old school Cavs LeBron jersey, and he didn't want it. And then I was like, "You're gonna want this when LeBron comes back to Cleveland in a year and a half." And he was like, "Shut up, it's never gonna happen." Meanwhile, 18 months later, LeBron re-signs with the Cavs. I immediately text Schulte, "You wish you kept that jersy now."
Yep.
Was it the navy blue one?
No, it was the white. It was the white and red.
Back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone else was texting me like, "Yo, congratulations, LeBron's back," or like, "You guys still suck," stuff like that. Jacob's just like, "You should have taken the jersey."
Should have taken the jersey.
You're gonna away at that point, or you sold it or something, right?
I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. There are two takes I'll die on the hill on: that Schulte should have taken the LeBron jersey, and that if Johnny Manziel was drafted by the Vikings, he and Adrian Peterson would have been electric. They would have been absolutely electric. Cleveland was the worst spot ever for him. It was absolute tragic that we got robbed of Johnny Manziel.
Should have been a beast. I remember you had a old what was it, Brady Quinn jersey?
I had a Brady Quinn jersey that I crossed out the word Quinn and I wrote Manziel when they drafted Johnny Manziel.
I actually did that with my LeBron jersey when we drafted Sexton. I taped over the 3 and taped over James and wrote Sexton and walked to school that day.
That's it.
And then it got stuck on the back of one of my chairs. I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I'll just wear the LeBron jersey. It's fine.
So Splash is going with the Bengals. Jake, who you got in the Super Bowl?
So here's my thoughts. First of all, I do want to talk about the Zach Taylor thing because, yes, they do get in holes, but I think one of the best signs of a good head coach is how you respond, how you make adjustments at halftime, all that stuff. And obviously,
I got to find a graph. I'm just going to my phone died. Okay, I'm just going to totally disprove anything you're about to say.
But if you look at the way that the Bengals started that game, they looked like the worst defense in football for the first 3 possessions. They couldn't do anything offensively. They had that one big play, I think, to Chase, and then they got the field goal. And then they make that stop right before the half. The defense comes out in the second half, looking like the best defense all year. Stopped them 6 straight possessions before they got that field goal at the end. And that's the story that people aren't talking about because everyone loves Joe Burrow. Everyone wants to talk about that. The Bengals defense just became amazing at the end of that game. And I think that is a sign of a good head coach, at least being able to keep that team mentally in that game and not losing your team. I think it's a lot like what Bickerstaff does for the Cavs. Like, I don't think Bickerstaff is the greatest, like basketball minds in the world, but he knows how to keep his team engaged. He knows how to keep them motivated and
I'm looking for I'm looking for the Zach Taylor thing, but this is just fast.
By the way, just to touch on something we talked about a little bit earlier, just to give him again, not credit because he stinks, but still. Tonight so far, end of the third, Knicks by 6 right now. Julius Randle 25 and 15.
Awesome. I'm very happy for him.
25, 15, and 7 for Julius Randle
awesome.
through 3 quarters.
That's
Evan Fournier with 19, Taj Gibson with 10, and that's basically all the scoring for the Knicks. Kemba's got 8, Mitchell Robinson 5, Quentin Grimes 3, Quickly 3, Alec Burks 3, Obi Toppin 3. So it's essentially Julius Randle versus the Warriors.
Maybe making it through the trade deadline brought some of their confidence up. I mean, they've been a very inconsistent basketball team this year. They'll have to show it. They might not even win this game. But you do wonder how much of a burden off their back, that took not being traded. So
I hope so.
For my
also, Phoenix up 15 towards the end of the third against Milwaukee. DeAndre Ayton leading both teams in scoring with 23 on 10 of 12 shooting.
Good for him. So my Super Bowl take. So that was my Zach Taylor take, but I think it's all going to come down to how quickly Burrow is able to get the ball out. Now we know Burrow can get the ball out quickly. It's a matter of how they're defending their receivers and stuff like that. If Burrow is able to get the ball out, I think they have quickly. I think they have a very good chance. If not, he's going to get sacked. Super Bowl record on Sunday because their offensive line.
I wonder what the Super Bowl record is.
Yeah, their offensive.
It's got to be the 85 Bears against what's his name, Tony Eason and Steve Grogan.
That's fair.
Yeah. If you rewatch those highlights, I feel like every play one of their guys is getting sacked.
Yeah,
I think the individual record is for LC Greenwood in Super Bowl 9. I will fact check that, but I believe it's 9.
So I think it's either.
It's actually okay. It's actually a three-way tie. It's there's a Broncos team, a Bears team, and a Steelers. Well, probably that Bears team. Yeah. So it's. Thank you, StatMuse. So we have the 2015 Broncos, the 85 Bears, and the 75 Steelers, and that dude riding a motorcycle.
Is it a stretch to say that 2015 Broncos team is one of the worst teams to ever win the Super Bowl?
Yes, dude. I've talked about this a lot. If the Patriots if the Patriots held that 24-0 lead against them in the regular season, if the Patriots
the C.J. Anderson game,
the freaking who was it? Chris Harper dropped that punt in that game. We're up 24-0, and then we end up losing. If the Patriots don't lose to the Jets or the Patriots don't lose to the Dolphins, the Patriots. That game's playing New England. The Patriots beat them by 20, 25 points in that AFC Championship.
Right. I don't think that Broncos – because that Broncos team also almost lost the divisional game against Pittsburgh, who didn't have Big Ben or Antonio Brown in that game.
No,
I know it doesn't count for much, but Brandon Marshall and Ryan Fitzpatrick to this day claim that had they beaten the Bills in Week 17 and made the playoffs, that team would have won the Super Bowl.
Hey, you're welcome, by the way. We swept the Steelers with the worst team in the history of our franchise.
Yeah.
And that Patriots team was. I mean, that Panthers team was tough, and the Broncos matched up really well with them. The Patriots, didn't have quite the defense the Broncos did, so it would have definitely been more of a shootout as opposed to just the Broncos defensive line just getting to Cam every play. I was so mad that night that they.
Okay, and it is the LC Greenwood had 4 sacks in the game. That's the individual record, and the team record is 7.
Mm-hmm. With who? The 85 Bears?
The 2015
Broncos.
2015 Broncos, 85 Bears, and the 75 Steelers, 76 Steelers.
So overall, I think this game's. I don't think it's gonna be a huge blowout. But I think if the Rams are able to control the line, Like, you know, they're able to get their sacks, they're able to create time for Stafford. I think it'll be like one of those like 30 to 20 games. You know, the Bengals get a late touchdown. It's never really that close. I think if Burrow's able to get the ball out quick and the Bengals defense, obviously they're not going to stop him 6 straight possessions like they did the Chiefs, but if they're able to play good defense, I think it'll be a close Bengals win. I think if it's a close game at the end, the Bengals are going to win. So I think I'll go 27-20 Rams, just because somewhere in between.
James says,
I'm all by
who do you
myself.
think's James says, who do you think is going to win the 3-point shootout? Can you guys remind me who's in it?
I don't know.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, I think it is.
Although I'm going with Karl Anthony Towns. I saw he was in it. Let's
Okay,
give the
here it
big
is.
man the 3-point contest.
Okay,
That'd be
Karl
awesome.
Anthony
Kennard.
Towns.
So it's okay. Luke Kennard, Patty Mills, Desmond Bain,
Wow.
Cat, Zach LaVine, Fred VanVleet, CJ McCollum, Trey Young.
I'm going to
Ice
go
trade
with
game.
CJ McCollum. I feel
I'm
like
going
CJ
Desmond
McCollum
Bain.
for that type of thing.
I'm going Desmond Bain. Underdog. I'm
That'd
taking
be
it.
sick,
Desmond
yeah.
Bain.
I can't. There's no Cavs in it. I can't believe that.
I know. Kevin Love
Okay,
should've
I'm gonna
been
go
in it.
Fred
It's
VanVleet.
huge.
I think VanVleet does it.
Oh, I didn't hear you say Van Vliet. Also go with
Yeah.
McCollum.
Okay, I'll go FVV.
Okay. Yeah, no, Kevin Love should have been in it. Now, granted, Kevin Love would have looked terrible in that type of setting because he's a catch and shoot type of guy. So kind of happy he didn't embarrass himself. But I feel
Hasn't
like
he
he
won one
deserves it.
before?
Has he? I
Has
don't know.
Kevin Love
Didn't
won
he-
a 3-point contest? I don't think
I
so.
think so.
Has he? Oh, maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong. but
he was.
doesn't
He
feel like-
was definitely in the final round at one. Has
Really?
Kevin Love won a 3-point contest? Yes, 2012 as a member
well,
of the
I'm wrong.
T-Wolves.
That was
Yeah,
a very
that's my K Love. I still want him on the moon, but yeah, go K Love.
yeah.
And Knicks
man.
fans, if we don't win anything else this year, Obi Toppin's going to win the dunk contest. I have no problem saying it. It's not
Yeah.
even going to be close.
Is
Last year
Obi
he
in
was
the Rising
robbed.
Stars game too.
No, Obi and Emmanuel quickly both did not make Rising
Yeah.
Stars game. That was a big thing on
Whoever
Knicks Twitter.
establishes the line of scrimmage on both sides wins the game. I trust Matt Stafford more in the fourth quarter. Whoever
Then
recovers,
Ramsey's going to lock down whoever
Yeah,
he covers. AD's going to get his first ring. I
I
agree
don't agree with the
I
Stafford
agree
part.
with the line of scrimmage part. I find it. I have it. Other than the Burrow Magic Jamar Chase argument, I find it hard to come up with a rational football logic argument that tells me that the Bengals are going to win this game.
Oh, trust me, I agree with you. So I'm going.
I
totally
apologize.
irrational.
I apologize to Bengal fans, really, but I just think out of all the teams you could have played in the playoffs, I think the Rams or the Niners were just both absolutely horrendous matchups. I also think that everyone's like, well, Matt Stafford will throw the Bengals an interception or two, it's going to happen. I honestly because of who Matt Stafford is, he's like a really tough guy, plays through injuries. There's the famous, he throws the Hail Mary, separates his shoulder. It's pass interference, and then he runs the play with a separated shoulder. I don't see him having a bad Super Bowl. This is his moment. He's been really good. Other than the one ball that he threw that should have been picked off. I forget who on the Niners dropped
Tart. Yeah, Jaquiski Tart.
Other than that one ball, I mean, he's been lights out this postseason.
Awesome. It's almost feeling like 2013 Flacco-esque the way he's playing. Not quite that great, but pretty close.
Flacco, baby.
If he has an amazing Super Bowl, let's say it becomes a shootout, right? If this game, a lot of people are assuming it's going to be not too high scoring because the Bengals are going to have a tough time scoring. Let's just say it all doesn't matter and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow just go crazy. And it ends up being a high scoring game. Stafford throws 4 touchdowns, no picks, 350 yards type of thing. I mean, it's in the conversation for one of the best postseason quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, you probably throw him up there with Montana in 89, Flacco in 12. Yeah.
Young in 94.
Yep. Foles in 17.
Yeah.
Even Eli in 2011.
Isn't that amazing that Nick Foles in 2017 is in that conversation?
Yeah, and the funniest part is
very underrated.
he wasn't even good against Atlanta. He had and he wasn't actually all that great against Minnesota. He was just unreal against the Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, like unbiasedly, that's one of the best Super Bowls ever. But that game pissed me off so much for so many reasons. If
unbiasedly,
Butler would win that game.
Unbiasedly, as much as I hate the Patriots, the two best Super Bowls ever are probably the 28-3 game and the Eagle game, and also the Seahawk game.
The Seattle game is up there.
Yeah,
those are probably those might be the three best Super Bowls ever.
Yeah. Like if you go with all the only dud Brady Super Bowl is the Tampa one. The other 9, like there's a legitimate argument that 9 of the top 15 Super Bowls ever feature Tom Brady.
That second Rams one wasn't great. The 13-3.
That's true. But at least it was close the entire game.
Brady Super Bowls were ridiculous.
There are a lot of bad Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I mean, the first Eagles one was.
The Panthers one in 2003 is a very
one of the most underrated games ever.
It's unbelievable football game. If John Casey doesn't kick the kickoff out of bounds after the Ricky Pearl touchdown, who knows? But that is one of the most underrated games. Steve Smith was
the GOAT,
unbelievable.
Muhammad the GOAT.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love those teams. The funniest part, my favorite like Steve Smith argument is there's some stat made in the mid 2000s just for Steve Smith, just to like kind of almost get how inept the Panthers passing offense was and how good Steve Smith was. Like, in baseball, how they have OPS plus and ERA plus that adjust for run environment. Well, it's essentially that, but it adjusted Steve Smith's 2005 season that he won the Triple Crown, which is still mind boggling, but it adjusted that as if he was in a normal passing offense, as opposed to Jake Delhomme and Chris Wenke and those guys, like bad object. Well, Wenke was awful. Delhomme was a half decent. It was just mind-boggling what Steve Smith can do. Mushin Muhammad led the league in receiving yards one year. Yeah. Oh man,
going back to that Patriots conversation too, you could put both of those Giants Super Bowls in like the top 7 or 8 game Super Bowls. Also, that first Giants
Rams
Super
one
Bowl,
as well.
The first Giants Super Bowl, if you take away the narratives and stuff, or like not narratives, but just like the history of that football game, like what was on the line. The first 3 quarters weren't exactly the most exciting football, but it was still a very close game. And the fourth quarter is probably one of the most entertaining quarters of football ever, at least for a non-Patriots fan.
And then Brady almost threw an 85-yard Hail Mary to Randy Moss.
That play to Randy Moss.
That play, if you go and rewatch that play, there's a camera angle that NFL Films has where they get it from the end zone looking in on it. That play is so much closer to being a catch than anybody wants to admit. Like Randy Moss is a half a step behind it. Like he's there. That is probably the best pass that Tom Brady ever threw. Just distance, arm strength, location, like that.
Yeah.
That was the miracle play.
Yeah, and in 2011 also, that Gronk was this close to that football.
And then in 2017 against the Eagles, they had a lob to the end zone that there's a chance, like if you play that in Madden 10 times, maybe there's a chance that Gronk comes down with it or a random receiver comes down with it.
But that one in the Giants Super Bowl was so close. It tipped up. If Gronk was at all healthy that game, granted, we probably win that game if Gronk's healthy. Not trying to be a sore loser here. Injuries happen.
Also, the GOAT Aaron Hernandez.
Yes. Aaron Hernandez, he got a touchdown, right? He got a touchdown.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, going back to the current Super Bowl, I have a hot take. You guys ready for this?
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. Odell's going to be a free agent this offseason. Odell the Rams are going to get Robert Woods back next year. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to win Super Bowl MVP and sign a massive contract with the Jets. He's going to go back to New York.
Okay, I want you – do you have the uSTADIUM app?
I don't know. Possibly.
Okay. If you have it, make a take on the app saying Odell Super Bowl MVP signs with the Jets in the offseason. I promise you every Jets fan on the app will come at your head for it.
I'm telling you, I've been saying this now for a couple weeks. Well, since the Rams won the NFC, I think that Odell is going to have a monster game because I think the Bengals are going to be held in on Cooper Kupp's not going to beat us. Cooper Kupp's not going to beat us. Cooper Kupp's not going to beat us. Odell has played absolutely phenomenally this postseason. He's going to have an awesome game, and the Jets are going to shell out for him. They're looking for that number. They're looking for that true number 1 X receiver. Odell is going to come back to New York, the place where Dave Gettleman said, I'm not signing him to trade him, but that was the Giants, not the Jets. He's going to come back to New York on a monster contract.
And shout out to Odell because
Book it.
I've always felt like he's one
All
of the
right.
most
Yeah,
overhated.
make a take. If you don't have enough points, I can send you some when I get my phone charged. But that's absolute. That's exactly what we want with takes. Just totally off the wall stuff.
But
Book it.
shout out to
I'm
Odell
telling
because
you.
Odell, I've always felt like is one of the most overhated players in sports. He just does him, and he always gets hate for it because this person's mad at him or that person. And when the Baker Mayfield stuff went down, I was like, this guy Mayfield, his arm is basically falling off. He should not be playing football right now. How the hell is he blaming Odell for him sucking? And everyone wanted to say Odell just wasn't it anymore. And it's really
No, Odell
really
was
cool
it.
in
Odell
sports.
was it.
And it's really, really cool in sports when you see a guy who's being targeted by the media, being targeted by this. And he comes out and he just says, "Screw you guys, I'm amazing." And that's what Odell's done since he got to the Rams. I found that really cool.
Hopefully,
what he's
Julius
done
Randle will
back
take the
there.
same notes.
Yes,
Facts.
I hope so
Except
too.
you don't have to trade him first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine they trade him and then he turns into the second team All NBA guy again for the next 5 years.
He
It's
just
I think
becomes
that
like
will
Elton
happen.
Brand again. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that will happen if
exactly.
you guys trade him, which is why I wouldn't trade him. By the way, the Knicks
point.
are up 8 with 6 minutes left. Or 6
There you go.
54.
It was 13 when I last checked 30 seconds ago.
Oh, shut up.
It's only 8
That's-
now?
Yeah,
That's
it's like
the
that
Warriors
Cavs
view,
game
bro.
when
Oh my God.
Jake was reacting like they're up 11. I'm like, they're actually up 5 right now. I
Yeah,
want to
the,
time
time
out.
the
They're up
Cavs,
5.
the Cavs
Time out
Hornets game,
Knicks.
that's actually something I wanted to touch on real quick. So the
Wow, the
Cavs
Suns are
Hornets
up
last,
20.
the Cavs
Suns are up
Hornets last,
22.
wow. So the Cavs Hornets last week, right?
Mhm.
I didn't realize this because I was watching it. We were reacting to the game, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't have my volume on my phone. I was watching my phone. We were reacting on the computer. And Splash didn't happen because his TV doesn't have NBA TV. I was the one watching the game. So if I heard the announcers, I would have known what was going on. But I'm watching the game, and the guy on the Hornets goes out of bounds. He passes it to Terry Rozier. 3 seconds later, a player on the Cavs bench touches Terry Rozier 3 seconds after the play is dead.
Yep.
And so they call it technical foul. I was like, okay, he touched the player on the court when he's off the court. People do that all the time, but whatever. And then they put 3 points on the board. I'm like, what's going on? Did I miss a 3-point made? Like, that's never happened for me with basketball. So I'm going over at the end, and the Cavs ended up winning by 1 on Kevin Love free throws with the second left. But
Kevin
I'm going
Love.
over it. Yeah, I'm going over it after the game. The reason why they gave the guy 3 points, the ref said he didn't realize. This just seems like blatantly just trying to give the other team points. So the play ended 3 seconds before. They pass it to Terry Rozier in the corner. He's just taking like a warm-up three. Like, he didn't look like he cared about it at all. He misses it, and Ed Davis touches him. They gave him 3 points for a shot he attempted 3 seconds after the play was over. Had a full conversation about it, still gave it to him, and gave him a free throw. So it went from a 10-point game to a 6-point game. That literally might be the worst call I've ever seen. Like, no exaggeration.
bad.
If the Cavs had lost that game, that would have been a much bigger conversation. But I honestly think that might be one of the worst calls in sports history, period.
I
If
think
not-
at that point, that's when we
the
make
wor-
a Fire
the
Adam
worst-
Silver stream.
The worst call was 2017 Jets-Pats, the Austin Safarian-Jenkins
Okay, that was
touchdown
terrible.
that
Yeah, that
they
was pretty
turned
bad.
into the start of the touchback.
Yes.
That
I hate
was
that
Well,
rule.
it wasn't
I
even the
was
right
in the
call
stadium.
by those
I
rules.
just like
I was there
couldn't
too.
believe it.
Jets fans
I-
wanted to kill me because I was just laughing.
I couldn't believe it. I was at the butt fumble game. I was at the I'm seeing ghosts game. I was at that game. Like, name your terrible Jets moment of the last 15 years that happened in this at home. Just awful.
Yeah, no,
Just
that was a
awful.
terrible call. I'll give you that. That's up. But the thing is, that's a football call at the end of the day. Terrible call. The thing with this call is it's literally 3 seconds after the play happens. It's a dead ball call that they said was during the play. Like, it seemed like the refs didn't know basketball. That's the issue with it. It seemed like the refs straight up did not know basketball. These are guys who've been reffing probably for 20 years each. It seemed like they didn't know what they were doing. It was insane. I'll send you a clip of that after this, Jacob. But I think
It was
pretty
bad.
shocking.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
at first I was like, I'm being biased, and then I see people calling the worst call I've ever seen. But yeah, I'll admit, as a Patriots fan, that Austin Safarian-Jenkins play is one of the worst calls I've ever seen as well. That was very, very bad.
Did you guys see that Michigan basketball beat Purdue today?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, Michigan 82, Purdue 58. Number 3 team in the country takes their 4th loss.
Wow. That's like
My,
5 top 10 teams that have lost in the last 2 days.
My Wake Forest Demon Deacons are 20-4 on the season right now. and 10-4 in the ACC. So
solid.
10-4. So.
My Miami Redhawks, we started the season pretty good. We played Cincinnati. We lost to them by 1, and then we lost to Indiana State, which I didn't realize still had a basketball team. I thought they dismantled that for Larry Bird. Yeah. Right. And ever since, I think we've just been awful. Let's see. What are we now? Man. When's our next game? Looking. Here we go. We're 10-13. We got Bowling Green on Saturday. That's awesome. So we're 5-13 since the Cincinnati game.
Oh, damn, that's unfortunate.
Not good.
I mean, and of course, I go to Arizona, and like they're really, really good.
Yeah,
and like I haven't been to a game this year.
but one of the great basketball underrated upset March Madness was that Buffalo team over Arizona.
Yep.
Because it got eclipsed by UMBC's victory later that exact day. But Buffalo
I had Arizona in a
Wes
money
Smart,
bracket.
CJ Massenberg, Nick Perkins, Javonte Harris. That was my team. I love that team.
Yeah, Jacob's a huge Buffalo fan, or at least I don't know if he still are because you go to a different school. But
I go to a different school in the same conference, so it's over.
Yeah, but
UB,
you were
UB Sports.
So I remember I was texting you that whole game. You just couldn't believe what you were seeing with that team. Do you remember?
Man, that was the worst.
You tell
I had money writing on that Arizona team.
Yeah, Jacob, do you remember when I went over to your house for that? Who was Miami Ohio playing? I forget who it was, but it was right before
they played Louisiana Lafayette in the I think it was the GoDaddy Lending Tree Bowl.
Yeah,
they
everything
were down.
Went wrong that day.
They were down 7 late in the fourth quarter. They had a huge kickoff return, and our quarterback is Brett Gabbert, who's Blaine Gabbert's little brother. So first down, he throws an incomplete pass. Second down, third down, whatever happens. It's fourth down from essentially the goal line. Game on the line. Snap goes over his head, 50 yards back. Sack. Game over. That was
unbelievable.
Sitting there with anticipation. Snap goes flying over his head. Me and Jacob had some pretty great sports moments. We turned off the Andrew Luck comeback against Kansas City. We were watching that game.
I'm so glad. That was a
turned it off, and then Jake turns to me. He goes, the Colts are only down by 7, and I'm like, what?
I think it was that same night was the Saints-Eagles game with Chip Kelly, and the Saints ended up winning that game on a field goal. I think we watched that one too. That was I had a Donovan McNabb jersey and a Reggie Bush jersey because I was 12, 13 at the time. Cut up and made into half of it was a Reggie Bush jersey and half of it was a Donovan McNabb jersey. Those were some good times. Yeah, that was.
I respect the hustle, but I can't destroy a jersey like that. I can go with tape, but
by the way, Warriors have cut the lead to 2, 104-102 with 4:34 left. Warriors are on a huge run.
Jake, do you remember the last time the Patriots and Ravens played?
Yes, and I remember you telling me the Patriots were going to beat them, and I'm like, you're crazy. Or no. I'm sorry. That was a different game.
I was confident in the Ravens.
You was the most confident you were ever in a team, Ravens being a team. And I was like, we're going to win this game. And then
I lost $10 to Carolina Alec.
Yeah.
But then we beat the Titans. I told everyone we're going to beat the Titans in the playoffs this time. The last year I took the Titans on the number and that's cool. This season rolls around. It's like, we're going to beat the Titans in the playoffs. We're just going to beat the Titans. I don't know how, but we're just going to do it. And we did. But in that game, the Ravens had a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And they did try to do the direct snap to Mark Ingram, which had worked against Houston. And I believe, was it Skura? It was either Skura or Makari that snapped it 30 feet over his head. If it was in Dallas, if it was in Arlington, it would have hit the Jumbotron. It was that high of a snap. Yeah. And I just we're going to lose this game because these idiots can't snap the football.
Jacob, that brought back another memory. Do you remember when I was the day that Gronk tore his ACL against the Browns? You remember I was over at your house, and not because of that, but the Patriots were losing to the Browns, and you were because I was making fun of the Jets every week that year, and you're like, I think the Jets were only a couple games back of the Patriots. You're like, we're gonna catch you guys now and stuff, and then I leave. And the Patriots ended up coming back after Gronk tore his ACL.
I do remember that.
And the Patriots kicked an onside kick. And I texted you. I thought we were done. and stuff. I remember that.
I do
Yeah.
remember that. Aaron says Andrew Whitworth beating his former team in the Super Bowl and riding off into the sunset is a cool story. Odell going out, awesome teammate, killing it with Bobby Trees out. Eric Weddle retiring with a ring.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are all pretty interesting storylines, especially the Eric Weddle thing. I mean, the dude was on his couch doing nothing, a month ago. Yeah, that would be wild, especially like in LA. I personally think of Eric Weddle as a Charger. So
I have
it's
an
like
Eric Weddle Charger jersey. Yeah.
they moved,
I think it
from
was a
San
Ravens
Diego
fan.
to LA. It's
Yeah,
just
he
so poetic, and it's kind of cool when sports works out that way.
Yeah, and it's really cool.
And Jake, he did play for the Ravens, and he was like a Pro Bowler with the Ravens, but the Chargers jersey was cheaper, and the powder blue is powder blue. So, like,
Fair.
obviously, you take the powder blue jersey.
For me, I think of Eric Weddle like I thought of Greg Monroe this year. I was watching a Timberwolves game because I put money on them to beat, I think it was the Celtics, because I was like, Ant Edwards going to go off. The line was ridiculous for how the Celtics were like blowing all those leads at the time, and the Timberwolves went down by like 8. I put money on the Timberwolves to win. Then I see Greg Monroe going off. And I'm like, this is 2022. I haven't seen this guy on a basketball court since 2016. I think I texted Splash. So I'm like, do you see that Greg Monroe's playing basketball right now? And he ended up putting up a double-double that night. And I was like, what is going on? That's what reminded me of the Eric Weddle situation. It was like, because, Greg Monroe
He
was
was on
not
the
somebody I
Bucks
expected
like
him.
2 years ago, wasn't he?
What?
Wasn't Monroe on the Bucks? Like one of their
Yeah, he
not
wasn't like playing.
yeah, but he was like on one of their like with Giannis, like a really, really good Giannis, but maybe not like MVP Giannis. Yeah, actually he played with the Bucks. He's played 3 games with the Bucks this year. And 5 games in 2018. That's what I was thinking.
He was like a bench warmer though. Like he wasn't playing.
Yeah. Although he did average 15 points a game for them in 2016.
Yeah, that's not surprising. He was.
Do you know how many threes Greg Monroe has hit in his career?
Four.
Would you go with 4?
Your guess is
No,
4?
I think I'm gonna go with 27.
Okay. He has taken 17 threes. He's made one of them for a
Damn.
0.59 percentage.
Damn.
Essentially Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
I think Shaq was 1 for 22.
You know what's hilarious is Dwight Howard's 3-point percentage his career is actually good. Like he's taken like a decent amount and made a decent amount. Like he's taken like 30 and made like I'll say like 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's funny because he can't make a free throw, but the dude's made a decent amount of the threes that he's taken. Howard.
I'm not sure what just happened in the Knicks game, but Knicks still by 4 with 3 minutes left. Steve Kerr technical foul. So I don't know why.
Did he touch a guy while he was
I have no idea. I'm on the Gamecast for ESPN and I just see the play-by-play coming up. So we got a Steve Kerr technical with 3 minutes to go.
Why does Randall always do this towards the end though? It might be because they're overplaying him, but like
he just starts he can't buy a bucket. I know.
Curry's finally having a good game. Yeah. Curry's finally having a good game, but it looks like literally nobody else is doing. Oh, Kuminga's having a good game. I like Kuminga a lot.
Oh, and I have to take this time. Huge shout out to my dad has a rule about basketball, and his rule is basically in the NBA, you don't have to watch any game until there's 3 minutes left because it'll either be a complete blowout or it'll be exactly a 6-point game. And with 3 minutes left in this Knick game, it was exactly a 6-point game. So big shout out right there.
That's funny.
He's right. He's actually right.
It's currently 112-106 Knicks, 6-point game.
Meanwhile,
and then Phoenix is up 22 with 6 minutes to go.
Right? I'm here sweating over the first quarter of every Cavs game like it's like
so do I.
So
do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
I'm like, we're down by like 6 in the first quarter, so the Spurs are like the season's falling apart.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, I got a notification that we were losing at the end of one. It's like, oh no. Because I know how these things work is like because I'm a pretty outspoken Cavs fan, so people know I'm a Cavs fan. So when the Cavs are losing, I'm getting all these DMs like, "Oh, the Cavs suck. The Cavs are going to miss the playoffs. The Cavs are a first-round exit." And then like 2 seconds later, they're up 8. It's like, Hey, where'd you go, Bucko?
Avalanche.
Yeah. What was it?
There's like
19-0 run against the
5
Pacers?
Yeah,
17-0?
19-0 in like 3 minutes. It was insane.
Oh,
They were down by
man.
7. They were down by 20 at one point in that game. There was like no scoring going on. Then they scored.
Uh-huh.
Jetty Osman has like 10 points and Love has 9
Yeah.
points within like a 3-minute span. In my Twitter group chat, there's like 5 Cavs fans in the chat, which is pretty rare considering there's only like 70 people or like 65 people in the chat.
Mhm.
And or even less, I think. So like there's these Cavs fans, and then half of the rest of the chat just hates the Cavs because everyone's
Understandable.
talking. So like you create Cavs haters based on how outspoken you are. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
it's
Randall
like
has
that.
16 rebounds. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Could have?
Knicks up 4 with 1:11 to go. What do we think that there's any chance they hold this lead?
No.
I mean, I think there's a chance.
107 to go. I have to be on. I've been trying not to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but because I'm a sociopathic Knicks fan, I put in a parlay today. It was Grizzlies, Suns, and Knicks money line. Okay, it was $20 to essentially win 300. So
No way.
With the Knicks were like plus 400 in this game.
Oh, that's right, because they're at Golden State.
Right,
Well,
and no
Phoenix is
RJ
at
Barrett.
home. Yeah, Phoenix is
So-
at home. Memphis is
so-
playing Detroit. Oh,
Right.
man.
So they're up. It looks like they're up 112, 109 with 107 to go. Just
Yep.
Oh,
this is brutal. This is that Lakers game has. I'm getting PTSD from the Lakers game.
oh, man.
Oh, that Lakers game is brutal. I think I tried to call you after that game and you were not answering.
I was not in the mood. I actually just walked back in here and just
112,
went to bed.
110 now.
Yep, I see that. 52 seconds left. They need a bucket so badly.
Yes. Do you think they're gonna get it?
No, I don't. I think
I'm gonna
Oh,
put
no.
that
I think
on real quick.
there's going to be a Randall brick, or he's going to miss 2 free throws, something like that. Fournier is going to take a contested shot. Who's on the floor right
Hey,
now?
at least
Alec
you
Burks
didn't miss a
turnover.
shot.
Alec
Just
Burks turnover. Alec Burks turnover.
Oh,
Who's on
boy.
the floor? Randall, Fournier, Grimes, Burks, and Taj Gibson. See, why is
So-
Alec Burks on the floor right now?
Oh, I think you're gonna like the next update.
I
Why
see
is
that.
Andrew
Steph
Wiggins
Curry.
blocking Mitchell Robinson dunks?
Steph Curry miss. Quentin Grimes rebound. Come on, hit a 3. Do
Let's see
something.
how bad this miss was by Curry.
21 seconds
Oh wow,
left.
Curry just missed that. It was on the rim and it just fell out. Yes.
Knicks
you go,
bucket
Randall.
with 21 seconds left.
That's
Knicks.
huge.
Oh, it was Randall bucket.
Yep.
And then
Goaltending on Kuminga.
goaltending.
Oh.
Of course, he didn't actually make the shot. It was
Well,
a
let's
goal.
see. I'm watching it on
Makes
my
sense.
phone right now. But
Of course.
I'm like 10
Timeout
seconds
Golden State.
behind.
All right.
Let's see if he made
Wow.
this.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh yeah, he was not gonna make that if he didn't goaltend.
Of course he wasn't. Come on.
Wait, are they challenging it?
Oh, they might be. That's probably what this timeout is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they're challenging it. See.
Yeah, see the Wiggins blocking Mitchell Robinson dunk. Don't understand.
I don't
that
think
one.
that's a goaltend.
Mitchell Robinson is somebody that I think people drastically underestimate if the Knicks have a
That's a
real point
goaltend.
guard.
Yeah. I think.
Mitchell-
that's a
I love
If
me
the-
some Mitchell
if-
Robinson.
If the Knicks had a real point guard and they could run legitimate pick and rolls, Mitchell Robinson would be an unbelievable rim runner and shot
Facts.
blocker in today's NBA. The Knicks
Agreed.
don't have a legit point guard, except for Derrick Rose, who's hurt. It's not the right place for him. I saw
Mhm.
that Detroit, there was almost a Mitchell Robinson for Jerry and Grant trade at the deadline, but I think that Mitchell Robinson is drastically underrated because of the team that he happens to play for.
I agree. I think
If
people
the
want to
Knicks-
get rid of him.
If the Knicks stripped it down and built a pick and roll team around RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, I'd sign up for that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think what was I gonna say? Shoot, I forget what I was gonna say now. The people who wanted them to get rid of Mitchell Robinson and do like a big deal for Miles Turner, I thought was a little bit crazy considering you're not really going anywhere. Like you're probably not going anywhere this year, so I don't know why you'd like give a huge haul for Miles Turner right now, especially with the injuries he's had.
I mean, hey, if they survive the next 21.4 seconds, let's see their upcoming schedule. Oh, okay. So
2-point
they're
game.
of course, they're in Portland. Then they're home
That should
for
be
the
one.
Thunder. They're in Portland, home
Yeah.
for the Thunder, home for the Nets, Heat, and Sixers. Christ.
Oh, and at home against the Nets, you have at home against the Nets, they don't have Kyrie.
Right, but
For
it's
now.
still they finished the month with Nets, Heat, and Sixers.
But the Nets are on a 10-game losing
if they
streak.
don't,
Yeah,
if
the
they
Nets
don't win
haven't
this
won a game in like 2 months.
Oh my God, the Knicks were so close to turning that ball over.
Schulte, stop.
All right, they got the foul.
And Alec Burks misses a free throw. Please hit the
Cavs legend
second.
Alec Burks.
Please hit
Yes.
the second free throw.
Alec Burks and CJ Miles were like the same exact player, I swear to God.
Golden State, do they have any more timeout? Please hit the second free throw. Please. 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 I beg of you.
And then Curry's gonna hit like a 40-footer.
Yes! Alec Burks, free throw good. 8.7 to go. Knicks by 3. If you know what's about to happen, please don't tell me. Just let me find out.
I'm behind you.
Let me have a natural reaction.
Burks fouled
Yeah, I got you.
someone.
Burks fouled someone
Yeah.
Well, don't tell him. Then you're ruining
with
the reaction.
8.7.
Well, like it was like one of the intentional fouls.
Yeah, that's what happened. He fouled Curry, which
Did they have a foul to give? They might have had a foul to give.
No, they didn't.
No foul. They put him on the line
With 8.7 left. I think that's so dumb. But teams that do it a lot now, I think it's really, really
Not
stupid.
really. I'd rather that than him take a 3 and hit it.
Yeah, but if Curry wants to make both free throws, he's going to make both free throws, and then we get into a foul game. And, Alec Burks just missed one. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have any. We have to get the ball to Quentin Grimes.
Robinson in for Gibson, Peyton in for Poole.
Let's see.
Steph Curry hits the second. Okay. Knicks timeout, as expected.
All right,
This
so
is
we'll get
the
to the end
only,
of this
to me,
game.
the downside with NBA basketball is like it slows down dramatically at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The reason, so I'm not sure if you guys listen to The Ringer has a really good podcast show called Book of Basketball.
Oh, Bill Simmons.
Yeah, and
I
they
like
talk
this
about
one.
the Game 7, the Cavs Warriors Game 7, 2016, and they bring up a really interesting point, which is the reason that game is so great, even though it's like for 5 minutes nobody can hit a shot, is because it was constant. There was not a lot of stoppage in that game. Even the block, like it's all fluid basketball. The refs are letting the refs are letting them play. There's no like timeouts every possession. Like it's really fluid and great basketball.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
And it was legendary play after legendary play, even though a lot of them didn't lead to scoring. I mean, even if it's an infamous play, like when what was it? Curry tried to go behind the back to Thompson.
He threw out of bounds.
And out of bounds. Yeah, like
I think that was the last stoppage until LeBron got fouled with like 20 seconds left, right?
Yeah. If LeBron had dunked that on Green, that would have been the greatest play in NBA history.
Facts.
If LeBron
he would have
had
jumped
somehow-
over MJ in every GOAT debate known to man if he had finished that dunk.
Yeah, and I remember he went down. I'm like, we just lost. He just broke his wrist, and then he gets up. It was typical LeBron like acting thing. And then he gets up.
Yeah, he was.
All he had to do was
exactly.
hit 1 to 2 free throws.
He was fine 3 seconds later. He's on the ground holding his wrist. Every Cavs fan's like, oh no, they're going to pick like Damon Jones to come in and shoot the free throws. And even those free throws, he misses the first, LeBron does. And then the second one like rattles around the rim.
Yep.
I was terrified. Even with 4 seconds left, I was terrified. I'm like, Curry's going to hit a 3 here.
Yeah, so it's like JR is going to like whack him on his way up, or we're going to try like foul him before he puts up the shot. And then like foul him while he's shooting, and he's going to hit a.
Oh my God! Cam Reddish missed the free throw.
Oh no!
Oh my God!
Sheesh! I'm like so behind.
Come on, Cam!
I'm just getting the substitutions, like Quickly and Reddish in for Robinson and Grimes.
I mean,
Reddish better not miss the second one. That would just be.
Reddish
makes the second. Timeout Golden State, 6.2. Oh. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose. It's gonna find Curry. He's gonna hit some ridiculous 3.
Curry from 35 feet.
Yeah,
no
we're
good.
totally
Knicks win.
We're gonna lose. It's over. It's actually over. Like we lost.
I
see it coming. I've seen this movie before.
How long is the 3? How many feet is the 3?
28.
28 feet. Okay.
28.
What do you do to that?
Julius
uSTADIUM
Randle's
right there.
Julius
Yeah.
Randle's 28 and 16 isn't going to matter. Even Evan Fournier played well tonight. We're still going to lose.
Evan Fournier is like the greatest player on earth when he's playing the Celtics, and the worst player on earth when he's playing anybody else.
Yeah,
I'm the greatest player on earth if you just search his last name.
His games against the Celtics are absolutely insane.
Oh my God, I'm so stressed. Come
You're
on.
You're getting a prime.
This is
New
it
York
because the Suns are up 131 to 104 with 18.2 to go. Like if the Knicks just hold them, I hit this. Come on, please.
All right, the Suns have won. They won by 24. Grizzlies won by 25.
The Cavs are in third place now.
Go Cavs.
Yes.
Who just came in for Cam Reddish? I just see that Cam Reddish left the game, but I don't see who came in for him.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Quentin Grimes. I haven't gotten the update yet.
It is Quentin Grimes.
Don't ruin the update. Don't ruin the update for Jacob.
I'm not. I was
just don't ruin it if you see that somebody scored.
Yeah.
Just don't say.
Poole and Lee in for Looney.
Okay, I see. There's no time left, but I don't see what happened. So a shot had to have gone up.
Or maybe they just didn't take one. I don't know.
Knicks win.
Knicks win.
Yes.
Jacob gets $300.
Congratulations.
Yes!
Congrats, Jacob.
And it was Clay, not Curry.
Yes.
It was Clay, not Curry.
Let's see what happened here on this play.
Let's go.
That's $300.
Yes.
Let's see what happened here. Clay gets the ball, fakes it to Curry. This is some great defense. Who is that? Was that Fournier? Oh my God, Clay got wide open after he didn't up fake on Fournier. He got wide open from the free throw line, just missed it. Oh, sheesh.
Ouch.
Well, congrats.
Man, I wish he missed that jumper against me when I broke my TV. Game 6, the Western Conference Finals. I'm playing as the Suns. I haven't lost a home game all year, but I'm like 8-33 on the road. So I'm at home, Game 6 against the Warriors, holding the fort as much as I can. Tie game. Devin Booker hit some ridiculous shot. I tie it up, and then they walk it down. Clay gets like a slightly open shot. I'm in his face with Booker, sinks it. I slam my controller into the ground, bounces up square in the TV, broken LED. I walk like 2 feet over. Hey, Mom, I think I broke the TV. Okay, Ryan, call your dad. I'm like, okay.
I just got 2 texts, one of which was from my boy who's a Cavs fan. He goes, Cavs to the Eastern Conference Finals is a lock. If the 4 teams you had earlier don't include the Cavs, you're wrong. And then my other buddy just goes, oh my God, Julius Randle is back. The Knicks are so good. Here comes the run. Count it, 7 in a row. So classic New York Knicks fan.
Yes, they did. Suns balled out tonight. I
know we were talking about earlier, and you guys said that you guys both like Memphis to get to win the West.
I do like Memphis.
You think Memphis beats Phoenix 4 out of 7?
I think they have the best player in that series in John Morant.
Phoenix might just be by far the best team, but if there's any space for Memphis to win, I think they'll do it. Let's just say that. If Phoenix might just be by far the best team and just blitz past everyone.
Yeah, it like bounced off the ground into the TV. Like to do a dramatic reenactment with this roll of tape, bounce, clunk.
That's crazy. Yeah, but
it actually wasn't that hard of a slam. It was more like just like a casual thing, and it just happened to bounce at the perfect angle to like smash the TV.
Yeah,
it was a tragedy. I didn't get to watch March Madness that weekend. I missed the Stephen F. Austin game. Remember with Thomas Walkup? They had that
2017.
Yeah, early. They had that win. They were like a 14 seed or something like that, and they won their game. Yeah. I was playing 2K, Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah. Julius Randle's last 4 games: 28, 16-7, 28, 10-6, 36-5, 32, 16-7.
Well,
crazy.
I think the next coming of Jesus is
Julius
back.
Randle's last 4.
We ended.
There's a reason that Julius and Jesus begin and end with the same letters.
Facts. Yeah. He's no Jesus Shuttlesworth, but he might be Jesus Christ.
Yes. Spit in facts.
I think that's a good note to end the show on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Big win for our Knicks fan over here, and also we won $300. So
yeah.
really appreciate you coming on the show, Jacob.
Anytime. This was awesome. Thank you.
This was as great as I could have expected from this. You guys are like two of my favorite people to talk sports with, and I just really appreciate you guys both showing up tonight and having some great conversation. And appreciate all the viewers as usual. You guys are great, giving us comments and everything. So it's been awesome. Our 4th show, and feels so natural at this point.
Who's ever still listening right now, much appreciated. It's 12:35. We've been going, over 2.5 hours. So really, like, much love to who's ever still out there listening. This was awesome.
Yeah, you guys who are watching, really appreciate you guys. It's awesome. This show went perfectly, and it's like I've been doing these shows for this is my 14th month now. And there's just some people it doesn't work with. Like, we've had guests, there have been some NFL players that have come on and have been on for 5 minutes and have worn out their welcome. And it's just an absolute disaster. And then this is I feel like if it wasn't 12:30 East Coast, we could have gone for another 2.5 hours. This was awesome.
100%. This was amazing. I'd love to be back on whenever you guys can have me.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you back on at some point. This was
you might have to get your own show, honestly.
Thank you.
And
appreciate
also, before we wrap up, I do want to shout out Jacob real quick because or Sklar, as it says on the screen, because during quarantine I'd never done any of this stuff before. I actually used to be pretty nervous to go in front of the screen and just talk to a bunch of people. And Jacob invited me to do a stream with him. I don't remember if it was your stream or your friend's stream. Do you remember whose stream it was?
So during quarantine, essentially, we were trying to think of things to do. The high school I went to basically gave us a task, figure out something creative to do. Start, So I decided to start a podcast. It didn't last very long, but one of the few episodes that we did have was me and Jake just talking mid 2010s basketball series, we probably did for 20 minutes tonight. So that was just super awesome. And it was my first experience doing it. It was his first experience doing it. So all of it was incredible.
And I really appreciate that because that, gave me the confidence really to start doing this stuff. When I started back up, I knew I could do it because of that. So I appreciate you getting me on that. And this went really well. It's been my favorite thing that I've started in such a long time. Started doing so. Appreciate So thank you for coming on. Awesome show. And viewers, thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You can follow Jay, you can follow Sklar, you can follow me on our socials. Make sure you follow uSTADIUM, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all the social platforms. Make sure you ring a ding ding, that Le'Veon bell, actually that Jordan bell, that notification bell, so you get notified whenever we go live. If we have a show like this, Zach and I were live earlier when the Harden trade went down. I'll be dropping content all weekend. We might have a live for the Super Bowl. That's to be determined. But other than that, awesome show. And we need a signature catchphrase to end on. It's when Jack and I do our show, it's Aaron Donald trains with knives. Or when Zach ends his show, Henry posts the definition of a chanticleer, which is a rooster of some kind. So we need. Oh, I guess it's just go Cavs, right? It's just go Cavs. Go Cavs.
Yeah, go Cavs.
Odell go for the Jets. That'll be my last word. Odell.
Make that a take. Make that a take on uSTADIUM. Download the app. Make your takes.
Appreciate everyone watching as usual. You guys are the best. You guys stay around here. So.
Yep. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Go Cavs.